Chapter-821-840. Black Zetsu seldom comes to Konoha, and most of the people who come to Konoha are white Zetsu, because white Zetsu is in charge of monitoring the ninja world, and Black Zetsu's mission has always been the executor of provoking wars, and then stirring up trouble everywhere. A cold light flashed in Lu Han's eyes, and he disappeared. Short time later, the north entrance of Konoha village. Lord Hokage. Lord Hokage. Outside, his heart was clouded with clouds. It was not surprising that Lu Han didn't catch up with the flickering. Regarding the strength of Black Zetsu, Lu Han has never seen the level of Black Zetsu, but he knows that, not to mention the frontal combat strength of Black Zetsu, his ability is extremely pervert, otherwise the Six Paths Madara in the original book will not be maybe trapped. But it was not clear why Black Zetsu came this time. Although Black Zetsu's frontal combat power is not necessarily terrible, but if he is playing in and secretly sabotaging, it is really hard to prevent. Megakure is about to be destroyed. As long as the village of Megakure is destroyed, the Second Ninja World War will officially end, and the remaining small conflicts will gradually settle down. At this critical period, Lu Han is most worried about still, Uchiha Madara's counterattack. Shouldn't he be watching the war end? Mansion in the forest, the sound of, hey ha, is endless. However, I saw two figures, one white and one yuhi, besieging this majestic blue figure. The blue figure has been passively beaten, dodging and running and stopping, and did not dare to fight back. Can't fight back. Blue figure is a sparring partner, and the yuhi and the white figures do their best, and they can't cause any damage to him. Lu Han entered the door quietly, saw the situation in the yard, did not make a sound, and watched for a while. When they finally found out that Lu Han was back, they all stopped. Teacher. The girl in a hot yuhi-colored classic dress ran to Lu Han's side and complained angrily, Xiaoai scolds me, teach him a lesson for me. Hurry, hurry. Little girl, don't talk nonsense. When did I scold you? Xiaoai walked over quickly, shouting with a black face. Who are you calling little girl? No big or small. Try calling it again. Yuhi-clothed girl shouted, what do you call me? Be louder. You, senior sister. What do you call me? Didn't hear me. Big sister. Be louder. Big, teacher, sister. Hey, be good. The girl in yuhi was triumphant, and Xiaoai turned her head to the side angrily, gasping for breath. Kushina, you are bullying people again. Hyuga Luo Ning, who was wearing a white Japanese ninja uniform, came over and said angrily to the girl in yuhi clothes. I didn't. Kushina, who was almost 13 years old and looked like a big girl, pulled Hyuga Luo Ning's arm and said coquettishly. Little Xiniang is right, she just bullies people, I just said she didn't beat her right, not scolding her. Teacher, you should take care of her. Xiaoai complained. Lu Han smiled helplessly and shook his head, he couldn't control it. When the yin and yang in the family are in decline, he sometimes gets slapped, coaxing one or the other, and it's not at all fair, and it's not a day or two that Xiaoai has been bullied. Since Xiaoai officially apprenticed to Lu Han and returned to Konoha with Lu Han, her seniority has dropped completely. Uzumaki Kushina, as Lu Han's first direct disciple, oppressed people as a senior sister. In fact, her direct disciple is a daughter he was raised, and he didn't learn Lu Han's true skills. To be honest, he couldn't be ranked. But Kushina relied on everyone to spoil her, even if it was nonsense, no one else could do anything. She would trouble Xiaoai from time to time, and she instructed Xiaoai to do any dirty work at home. And Hyuga Luo Ning. In fact, Xiaoai doesn't want to be called Hyuga Luo Ning's little sister, Tsunade. He is willing, because Tsunade is older and has a high status and prestige, but it's a little bit called Hyuga Luo Ning's little sister. Hyuga Luo Ning is the same age as him. Although his current strength has reached the elite level of Jonin, he is still far behind him. Hyuga Luo Ning didn't feel sorry for Xiaoai. She was embarrassed to ask Xiaoai to call her little sister. They were all Uzumaki Kushina. They had to be ranked by seniority. There was already a 30-year-old with high weight and Hataki Tai, who ranked first in Konoha's strength. She didn't dare to mess with Shuo, because she didn't know each other well, and she didn't dare to let Hataki Tai Shuo call her senior sister, so Xiao Ai, who came from outside, was out of luck. How old is it? It's nonsense again. Lu Han patted Kushina's head and pretended to be furious. Kushina was not afraid, and smiled and hid behind Hyuga Luo Ning. Lu Han glared at her, then smiled, and looked at Xiao Ai again. Come on, give me a hand. Don't. Stop talking nonsense, come here. Oh. Xiao Ai's whole face was wrinkled together. In the past, he liked to fight with Lu Han very much, because Lu Han didn't beat him, but since he officially started his apprenticeship, he began to be beaten, especially when his strength entered the after the cage level. Lu Han was even more ruthless. Xiao Ai was injured every time, and then Lu Han would personally heal him. In fact, Xiao Ai is not afraid of being hurt. He can bear it, but every time Lu Han heals him, it's really. He feels like he's going crazy every time he hurts. He is very afraid of Lu Han now. Hey, he's going to be beaten up again. Do you have to be so gloating? Hee hee. Don't laugh, when you're older, it's your turn to be beaten. Humph. No, I'm a girl, and the teacher is reluctant to bear it. Uzumaki Kushina and Hyuga Luo Ning walked to the main building talking and laughing, sat at the stone table, and entered the theater mode. Middle of the venue. Teacher, can you be gentle? Xiao Ai said timidly. Can't. As soon as Lu Han's voice fell, he suddenly burst into flames, and suddenly he was forced to face Xiao Ai, punching like a hammer. Xiao Ai retreated violently, lightning flashed all over his body, entered Raiden Thunder style, chakra mode, and then bit his head to face Lu Han. He tried to dodge before, but he was always beaten worse, so now he doesn't dare to dodge. And when Xiao Ai took the initiative to approach Lu Han, the text above his head also turned into Yui color. Kangwang's direct disciple, level 60 bronze boss, I. Chapter 0822-problem occurs. At the age of 20, with the strength of a level 60 bronze boss, Xiao Ai's talent really surpasses Tsunade, Jiraiya, Orochimaru, and is also a line higher than White Fang. If it wasn't for Lu Han, he said he might be crowned the #1 genius in the world. However, there are always differences in the growth of ninjas. Some are mediocre in childhood and rise in youth, some are geniuses in their teens, but they can't make any progress after they are in their 20s. Will advance by leaps and bounds, all different. Therefore, it is hard to say what Xiao Ai will do in the future. However, Lu Han estimates that Xiao Ai in this world will definitely be stronger than Xiao Ai in the original book in the future, because Lu Han led him on the correct path of cultivation at least a few years earlier. The courtyard of the mansion in the forest soon roared. It was the sound of someone being smashed to the ground. Of course, Xiao Ai is not Lu Han's opponent at all, and Lu Han does not allow him to dodge and dodge, so he must fight hard. Although Lu Han has suppressed most of his abilities, it is still easy to beat Xiao Ai. Of course, hitting him is not the purpose. The purpose is to let him understand why he was beaten, where he is bad, and where he should improve so that he will not be beaten. Lu Han's house is very large. It was built when he and Tsunade got married. After that, it was expanded once. Lu Han pressed Xiao Ai to fight, but it would not cause damage to the surrounding buildings. The two fought against each other with physical skills, and the scope of the attack was not as large as that of ninjutsu. After an hour, the aroma of the food was already coming from the main building, and the battle between Lu Han and Xiao Ai was finally over. It's a full hour each time. After all, it is for the purpose of teaching. If Xiao Ai is quickly defeated every time, it will not do any good except to destroy his confidence. In the courtyard, there are big pits everywhere. Xiao Ai lay in a pit, lying on her back and breathing from a distance, her mouth still spewing blood. Lu Han pulled him up. After hand sealing, he put his hands on his back shoulders and used the technique of creating yuan to treat his injuries that were not too serious but would not be easily cured. Xiao-ai bit Kiba and entered the body. Vibration mode is activated, shaking and shaking, sweating like rain. It's so fucking painful. They were all injuries of flesh and blood, no fractures, but they were easy to treat, but within a few minutes, Xiao-ai recovered. It's time to eat. Lu Han patted Xiao-ai on the shoulder, turned and walked towards the main building. Teacher, when will mistress come back? Xiao-ai followed Lu Han with a sad face. Come on, it is estimated that tomorrow afternoon, or the morning of the day after tomorrow. Lu Han said, glancing at Xiao-ai, what's wrong? It's nothing. Xiao-ai lowered her head in dejection and didn't say anything. He dare not say it. Lu Han abuses him, but Tsunade doesn't. In the past, when Tsunade was at home, Xiao-ai was injured. Sometimes, Tsunade couldn't see it, and he would stop Lu Han from using the technique of creating yuan to heal Xiao-ai himself. With Tsunade's medical ninjutsu attainment, it won't take long to heal Xiao-ai. I'm doing this for your own good, don't you? Lu Han looked bitter. He could see Xiao-ai's thoughts. Don't you notice that your body is getting stronger and stronger? What's the fear of a little pain? You'll get used to the pain. This is of great benefit to a taijutsu ninja like you. Time flies. Night. At dinner time, the atmosphere in the main building was not very good. Xiao-ai ate dinner triumphantly, and glanced at the small table in the distance, looking like she was getting revenge. At the small round table in the distance, Uzumaki Kushina with Yuhi's eyes sat there on his knees, sobbing and eating, mumbling in his mouth, not knowing who he was scolding. Something unexpected happened in the afternoon. It was Uzumaki Kushina who went too far and angered Xiao-ai. After Lu Han found out, he reprimanded Uzumaki Kushina for a meal. He didn't let her come to the table for dinner, so he set up a small table for her. In this way, Uzumaki Kushina is now defined as a bad boy and is being wronged. Bad papa, bad papa, bad bad bad, Uzumaki Kushina sobbed, poking hard at the bowl with his chopsticks, chant. Uzumaki Kushina has not called Lu Han's father in public for a long time. She used to be too young and thought it was funny and intentional. When she grew up, she understood that it was wrong. Usually, she was called Mr. Lu Han in a proper manner, but as long as Lu Han when Han provokes her, she will call her father and deliberately oppose Lu Han. When Lu Han heard it, he pretended not to hear it, and ignored Hyuga Luo Ning's pleading eyes, and only spoke to Xiao-ai. Xiao-ai plans to return to Kumogakure village in the near future. He has not been back for a year. The war in the Land of Thunder has ended recently. He wants to go back to see his father and report on the results of his practice. As for when he will come back, he is uncertain. It's definitely coming. Because Lao-ai is in his prime, not only has his strength not regressed, but there is even room for growth. It is not a problem to take charge of Kumogakure village for another 10 years. In this case, Konoha and Kumogakure are hardcore allies, and Xiao-ai does not need to stay in Kumogakure village. What? When you go back, give me a message and make an appointment. I want to meet with your father and discuss some matters related to the interests of the post-war period. It is better to have a face-to-face talk about this kind of thing. Lu Han was eating, said. Got it, Xiao-ai replied. Call. Was a very clear chakra fluctuation suddenly outside the door, followed by the sound of rapid footsteps. The door was directly knocked open. Hatake Tsukumo's face was very bad, and he entered the door and said, something happened. Problem occurs. It's still a big deal. Otherwise, Hatake Taishuo wouldn't break in so unruly. Konoha Village, Medical Department. The building was brightly lit, people came and went, there was a lot of discussion, and there was some confusion. More and more ninjas rushed to the medical building. They all heard about the situation at the entrance of the village. For example, Hyuga Huyang and Homura Mitokado, who lived nearby, had arrived, and they all went to the third floor. In the corridor on the third floor, crowds were blocking the road, and the voices were noisy. In the S-class special medical room, Jiraiya and Orochimaru, who were covered in blood mist, had already been carried to the sickbed. They were both in a coma. The level medical ninja was examining their injuries, and next to him were many of Konoha's top medical ninjas, all experienced doctors in their 40s. What's the matter? Tsunade, what about Tsunade-sama? There was a lot of discussion. Chapter 0823-Cold Fear. The mansion in the forest, the main building. What's the matter? Luhan threw down his chopsticks. Seeing that White Fang was about to say something, he hesitated to look around. Luhan realized that it was a big deal, but he couldn't say it in front of other people. Uzumaki Kushina is not an outsider, but Xiaoai is from Kumogakure village. Speak outside. Luhan flashed away. White Fang also dodged and disappeared. The two appeared one after another under the tree in the yard. Hyuga Luo Ning, who was kneeling beside the wooden cave, looked out with a bowl in hand. Because the door was not closed, Hyuga Luo Ning could see that in the distance, the White Fang under the big tree whispered to Luhan. After saying something, Luhan was shocked and exclaimed, "What did you say?" ... Konoha Medical Department, 3rd floor. Crowd dispersed automatically. Hyuga Huyang and Homura Mitokado walked to the door, looked at the situation inside, and asked the ninja next to them, because the matter had already spread among these people, so as soon as Homura Mitokado asked, someone immediately came told him more details. A scout ninja from the Hyuga clan found traces of Jiraiya and Orochimaru in the forest northwest of Konoha village. At that time, the two of them were covered in blood and seriously injured. Orochimaru was in a coma, and Jiraiya was carrying him. When the Hyuga ninja who discovered the situation rushed to Jiraiya, Jiraiya seemed to have lost all strength and fell to the ground. Before falling into a coma, he kept repeating two words, as if he wanted to say something, but he couldn't say it. Those two words are, Tsunade. 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 After that, the news reached the Konoha village. The Konoha police force responsible for patrolling Hyuga and Anbu, who has the power to monitor the entire Konoha, got the news. The first Konoha senior who saw Jiraiya and Orochimaru was the captain of Anbu, White Fang, who was also an advisor. But he left immediately afterwards. More and more Konoha high-rises appeared on the 3rd floor, and Uchiha Leiyang also came. Medical room. Konoha's older cage-level medical ninja, Chun Yi-zan, is treating the most seriously injured Orochimaru. Orochimaru's problem is very serious. First, the chakra is almost exhausted. Second, he hurt himself because of the forbidden technique. Also, is poisoning. Chun Yi-zan already knew what kind of poison this was, Hanzo's poison. The poison can be cured, but Konoha has no antidote. But Haruno-zan still has a way to clear these toxins. On the one hand, there is a medical ninjutsu to deal with. On the other hand, because of the special system of Orochimaru, in order to control the toxins, he also imposed a seal on himself. The wound on Orochimaru also looks serious, but it will not directly affect his life. On the contrary, Jiraiya's injury is even more terrifying. Several Konoha super-fine medical ninjas are healing him, but they are only able to control his injury. Let him not die. Ninjutsu, the art of drawing out the troubles. Haruno praised the hand seal technique and injected his meticulous chakra into Orochimaru's body. He carefully captured and wrapped the toxins and slowly extracted them. This is a very slow and extremely dangerous process. A little careless, Haruno praised chakra could hurt Orochimaru, that kind of hurt. It's deadly. However, although Haruno-zan, who is over 60 years old, has poor fighting strength and his state has declined due to his old age, there is still no problem in using this technique. Wow! The wind swept through the ward, and Luhan appeared out of thin air in the corner of the room, expressionless. Others did not dare to speak when they saw Luhan coming, for fear of disturbing the medical ninja to save people. At this time, they should have closed the door to give the medical ninja a quiet environment, but Jiraiya and Orochimaru are too important. They are not only disciples of Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, the 3rd generation, or the leader of the contemporary Konoha situation generation of ninjas. I want to see it. I want to know the result. even Hyuga Huyang doesn't want to let people close the door. But everyone is very disciplined, and before the cold light appeared, the voice of discussion was gone. Lu Han didn't say a word, looked at the two comatose people on the sickbed, and looked at the busy medical ninja. He walked slowly to the middle of the two sickbeds. He didn't want to disturb Orochimaru, because he could see that Haruno praised him. Whatever, Jiraiya can do it. I'm coming, Lu Han said in a low voice, making people unable to hear joy or anger. The other medical ninjas got out of the way. Lu Han, hand seal, treated Jiraiya with the art of creation. He didn't even check Jiraiya's injury before, no need. No matter how many injuries Jiraiya has, the technique of creation can work. After all, it is an operation that can cure most injuries, but it has the side effect of extremely painful process. In fact, Lu Han can also use Sharingan time and space tide to reverse Jiraiya's injury, but Jiraiya is too strong, and the injury time has not been short. Lu Han may not be able to recover his injury with time and space tide. Jiraiya still did not wake up under the extremely painful stimulation of the art of creation. He was hurt really badly. The injury was not caused by a single technique or an attack. It was caused by many kinds of injuries. It can be seen what kind of brutal battle he has experienced before. Lu Han, who looks calm, is actually shaking in his heart. He is afraid, even afraid, he is afraid. Jiraiya wakes up with the worst news. If Tsunade really died, Lu Han didn't know how to deal with it. Lu Han consumed a full 30% of chara, and it took nearly half an hour to heal most of Jiraiya's injuries, but still some injuries were not cured. Lu Han couldn't help. Konoha's medical ninja able to deal with other issues, they are professional. There were no visible injuries on Jiraiya's body, but he still didn't wake up. It was the extreme mental exhaustion that prevented him from waking up. Originally, according to the normal speed, Jiraiya would need at least a day to run back to Konoha, but this time he escaped back to Konoha with Orochimaru, who was in a coma halfway, in just half a day. You can imagine how hard he worked. This way of maintaining the limit of movement speed even when he was seriously injured caused cracks in the meridians in his body. If Konoha village was further away, he would have to die on the road. Late at night. After the noise in the medical building, it was quiet again. Lu Han stayed in the ward, waiting for them to wake up. Chapter 0824 Calm Before the Storm. In the ward, Lu Han sat on a chair in the corner, his body was hidden in the darkness, his hands were on his knees, his fingers were rhythmically tapping on his legs, and he didn't say a word. White Fang was here too, leaning against the door wall with his shoulders folded. Everyone else left. The entire building was blocked by the Konoha police force and Anbu. The police force was in charge of the periphery, led by Uchiha Leung, and Anbu was in charge of the defensive surveillance inside the building. Hyuga Huyang had already left with the Konoha independent scouts, and followed the blood trail to the Konoha village to search northwest. Although Lu Han knew that the possibility of finding something by doing this was very slim, he still let Hyuga Huyang do it. On the two beds, Jiraiya and Orochimaru both changed into hospital gowns. Orochimaru's forbidden technique has the most serious backlash damage, and it is hard to say whether it will leave sequelae. Jiraiya is better, but she has to rest for at least half a month before she can recover. Cough, cough, cough. The crisp cough turned into depression again. Orochimaru woke up and covered his mouth with the back of his hand subconsciously. When he opened his eyes, Lu Han was already standing beside the sickbed, looking straight at him. Orochimaru immediately turned his head to look. He saw Jiraiya, and his heart suddenly understood. Come to think of it, it was Jiraiya who escaped with him. Who is it? Lu Han asked directly. He didn't ask what happened. There was no need to ask. Hanzo, Onoki, and a white guy who is good at dungeon ninjutsu. Orochimaru said. White Zetsu. Lu Han looked at Orochimaru, his whole heart was lifted, and he asked, where's Tsunade? Even if Orochimaru had a cold temperament, he couldn't help but look gloomy at this time. and said, after we were besieged, we knew we were not our opponents, so we tried to break through the siege. Although we ran nearly 100 kilometers before and after 2 hours, we didn't get rid of them. All wounded, Tsunade let us go first. We all felt it. They were targeting Tsunade, not us, but we can't leave Tsunade. Tsunade for us, dumped us, left alone, Hanzo them they were all led away by Tsunade. A not very complicated process. Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru have always been inseparable, and all have the determination to die together. But when Tsunade finds out she's the target, she hopes she can save the other two. Jiraiya and Orochimaru couldn't have left her. She can only take the initiative to leave Jiraiya and Orochimaru, and led away Hanzo, Onoki, and White Zetsu. Tsunade's ability to break through is unquestionable. She launched a surge. In the state of 100 heroes, she can use physique all the way. Roll over. But she couldn't last long in this runaway state. She broke through and led out Hanzo, Onoki, and White Zetsu, and eventually she would be caught up. We looked for her after that. Orochimaru said finally, but we didn't find it. We found the last battle site. When we got there, there was nothing but some blood. Tsunade is still alive. The dead Tsunade has no value to Uchiha Madara, and it will completely anger Luhan. If Tsunade dies, Luhan will definitely tell the secrets of Uchiha Madara and the Moon Eye Plan, which will not do Madara any good. So, Tsunade must be alive. Only in this way will Luhan feel jealous and dare not talk nonsense. Luhan had to admit that he was caught by Madara as a weakness. Have a good rest. Luhan dropped the words and walked out with a blank expression. When leaving the ward, White Fang at the door also followed in the footsteps of Luhan, and asked in a low voice, what to do. Have a meeting. Would you like to? Before White Fang could finish speaking, Luhan raised his hand to interrupt him. He stopped talking. Do nothing. Luhan dropped the words and walked further and further along the dim corridor. White Fang stayed. He guarded Jiraiya and Orochimaru, at least until Jiraiya woke up, he could leave. The mansion in the forest, although it was late at night, was brightly lit. In the main building, Hyuga Luoning and Uzumaki Kushina had already cried Yuhi's eyes. The news had already spread in Konoha, and they couldn't hide it. When Jiraiya and Orochimaru were carried into the village of Konoha, too many people saw it. Hyuga Luoning was still there before. I went to the medical department once, but was driven back by Luhan. Xiao Ai, who heard about the situation, also came, squatting at the door and scratching her hair. He didn't know how to comfort people, and it was not his turn to comfort him. Jiraiya and Orochimaru were seriously injured and were brought back, but Tsunade did not come back, which was a sad thing for him. Luhan quietly returned to the courtyard, knowing that he had walked to the door of the main building, and Xiao Ai, who was squatting outside the door, noticed it. He stood up suddenly, and looked aggressive. Teacher. Who did it? Xiniang Shi. Go back to sleep, none of your business. Luhan said calmly, pushing the door into the main building. Hyuga Luoning and Uzumaki Kushina immediately surrounded. Han, sister, she. Ooh, teacher, where's my aunt? Where's my aunt? I've been caught, I'll find it back. It's alright, it's alright, it's late at night, go to sleep. Ha, see you cry. Little pity, Kushina is good. Luoning takes her upstairs. It's alright, you guys believe me, I will definitely find Tsunade. Go, I still have something to deal with, let's go upstairs. Luhan comforted Hyuga Luoning and Uzumaki Kushina for a while, smiled and scratched Kushina's face, and finally rushed on them. Hyuga Luoning pulled Kushina upstairs with 3 turns. Luhan's face returned to dullness again. Sitting alone in the empty lobby, his fingers subconsciously tapped the armrest of the chair, calm and terrifying. Clouds are already thick. This is the calm before the storm. At this time, Luhan is like a windless and smokeless abyss. There is a terrifying abyss beast dormant in his body. No one knows when this abyss beast will suddenly climb out and destroy the world. Xiaoai stood at the door, hesitated for a while, but did not dare to enter, not even to breathe. In the end, she left. Lu Han asked him to go back to sleep, so he could only go back. Early the next morning. The sun also rises. An invisible cloud has enveloped the entire Konoha. Chapter 0825-Chase. A new day, nothing seems to have changed. In general, Konoha is no different from yesterday's Konoha, except for a few more discussions. No one knows what Lord Hokage is thinking, and hasn't seen him make any arrangements. However, Konoha is already spreading the news that Tsunade was killed, which is sad news for most ordinary Konoha ninjas, but also, that's all. Ninja World War has been fought for more than 5 years, and Konoha has not been killed by 1 or 2 strong men. Although Tsunade is a little different from those people, she is the wife of Lord Hokage. She is the direct disciple of the 3rd generation of Hokage, and the medical saint of Konoha. First Lady of Konoha. For ordinary ninjas, Tsunade is aloof and inaccessible. The news of Tsunade's death, for them, was just cold news. Only those who are familiar with Tsunade, and those who are familiar with Hangwang, will understand what Tsunade's death means and what will be changed. Lu Han sat in the lobby all night. After the sun rose as usual, he also started a new day. He had breakfast as usual, and then went to the Hokage building. He didn't have a meeting, but just dealt with some newly sent documents. When he returned home, he saw Xiaoai, and as usual, he pointed Xiaoai, injured Xiaoai, and healed him. The family seems to have lost popularity. During lunch, there was only the sound of the bowls and chopsticks moving, and no one dared to speak. Attack the village of Omegakure was put on hold, and no one came to Lu Han to talk about it. The whole Konoha knew that Lord Hokage was in a bad mood, but he was not so ignorant. Another day, when Lu Han was leaving the Hokage building, he met Kaharu Utatane. Kaharu Utatane wanted to say something, but in the end she didn't. She already knew from White Fang that Tsunade was still alive, and she knew that Lu Han was waiting. At this time, any words of consolation could not be of comfort. In this way. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. Days, as usual, passed 10 over time. The news of Tsunade's death in the battle has spread wildly in the ninja world, and many people are speculating that if the cold light of the war has been calmed down with their own hands, will they provoke another war? Konoha, a terrifying fighting machine, if it really starts to take the initiative to attack the city, will the ninja world really fall into catastrophe again? About Hangwang and Tsunade is also circulating in the ninja world. It turns out that Hangwang used to be Tsunade's disciple. Almost died at the hands of Kurigakure in order to save Tsunade. Lao Ai, who got the news, has left Kumogakure village secretly. He is on his way to Konoha. He wants to talk to Lu Han in person. Day 5. A mansion in the forest. Xiaoai was sitting paralyzed on the ruins of the training ground and was vomiting blood. Lu Han stood beside him with a calm face, put his hand on his shoulder, and healed his injuries. The huge pain disappeared after a period of time. Xiaoai stood up. Lu Han walked to the main building without saying a word. Xiaoai followed behind and tried to speak many times, but she didn't say anything, and finally felt a little dejected. Lu Han suddenly stopped and turned his head to look south. He seemed to have found something. Xiaoai immediately followed Lu Han's gaze, but he found nothing, but Lu Han had disappeared out of thin air. Xiaoai disappeared. There was some chaos in Konoha village. Lu Han's whereabouts were mysterious and no one could notice, but Xiaoai tracked Lu Han and entered the Raiden Thunder-style chakra mode, which was a bit too eye-catching. White Fang got the news, Hyuga Huyang got the news, Jiraiya and Orochimaru, who have been able to walk around the ground, have also received the news. What is Hangwang chasing? Still. After a while, Lu Han appeared outside the west village entrance of Konoha village, stopped for a moment, and then turned into a shadow and chased into the forest. 2 minutes ago, White Zetsu appeared on the insight map, and after Lu Han chased after him, he began to move frantically out of the village. Why did he come? Why is Lu Han chasing him? Both are clear. But White Zetsu is still very worried. Although his mayfly technique can handle most dangerous situations, it is still not as fast as Hiraishin. Although he can move without leaving a breath, he is still afraid that Lu Han will go crazy and catch up with him at this moment. Kill him. Soon after. Konoha West Village exit, White Fang came, Hyuga Huyang, Uchiha Young, Xiao Ai, Inuzuka tears also came, Orochimaru and Jiraiya who had not recovered from their injuries also came, and then Kaharu Udatane. Hyuga Huyang called the Hyuga ninja patrolling the outer forest and asked about the situation. A Hyuga scout indicated that Hokage-sama was chasing a white figure. However, now Hokage-sama and the white figure have disappeared. Both are too fast. White figure, Jiraiya exclaimed, then bit Kiba and gnashed his teeth, but didn't say anything else, because the Konoha executives present already knew the situation that day. After all, Tsunade was dead or alive, even if the situation could not be disclosed to Konoha ordinary ninja, the higher-ups still need to know. Among the powerhouses, only Xiao Ai did not know what happened that day. No one will tell him. Lord Hangguang, it will be dealt with. Kaharu Udatane sighed. She was Hokage's assistant, and when Lu Han left, she took charge of Konoha. She didn't order people to chase, because it was no longer needed. If you can catch up, if you can find it, you will be damned. Konoha has entered the highest level of alert. Kaharu Udatane gave an order, then turned around and walked towards the village first. She felt very tired, and she didn't like the feeling of carrying the whole Konoha on her shoulders. Although she has intelligence, but in the end yes, a little less powerful. Kaharu Udatane went back. Inuzuka also immediately returned to the village. He had to mobilize the garrison. Hyuga Huyang and Uchiha Leiyang also walked back after that. White Fang stood beside Xiao Ai and looked out for a while, and then went back, leaving Xiao Ai. He is an outsider, and how Konoha moves has nothing to do with him. He now cares about Lu Han and Tsunade in his heart, standing at the entrance of the village, unwilling to leave for a long time. In the dark forest not far away, Black Zetsu stared at Xiao Ai, and the white Zetsu clone suddenly appeared beside him and nodded to him. The corners of Black Zetsu's mouth evoked a sinister arc, his figure flashed, and he sneaked away towards Xiao Ai. Chapter 0826_Go Crazy. Xiao Ai groaned inside at the entrance of the village, sometimes biting Kiba and clenching his fists, but finally unable to let go, turned around and walked towards the village. He was helpless, because he was not a Konoha ninja. What happened to Konoha, he had no right to say. After entering Konoha village from the gate, there is a small square with woods on both sides of the small square, and the corridor is next to the woods. Xiao Ai walked along the corridor, sometimes scratching her head, sometimes pouting, looking complicated. Sudden. Out of the corner of her eye, Xiao Ai noticed a white figure in the woods next to it. It was a person with a completely white body. Let's just call it a person. It looked very strange. He was standing in the woods during the day, looking straight out. Look. The hair on Xiao Ai's whole body exploded. He immediately thought of the white figure mentioned by Hyuga Ninja and Jiraiya at the entrance of the village. He suddenly burst into the woods and rushed to the white figure. The big fan-like hand grabbed it, and the whole body was surrounded by electric light, but the Raiden Thunder-style chakra pattern had not yet been formed. White Zetsu's clone did not hide, and looked at Xiao Ai with his head tilted. Xiao Ai's big hand has grabbed his neck. At this time, a black figure rushed out from behind Xiao Ai, and the dark palm digs straight into Xiao Ai's back. The unformed Raiden Thunder-style chakra pattern can't resist this hand at all. This hand grabs it, but gets stuck again. Xiao Ai reacted too quickly, because Lu Han repeatedly tortured him. His reaction awareness and muscle density were far superior to those of a taijutsu ninja of the same level, and he was already in a fighting state, and he was prepared for what was behind him. Sensing the danger behind him, Xiao Ai twisting hard. The Raiden Thunder-style chakra mode has not been formed, but the body activation has been completed. Black Zetsu, palm was only halfway in, when it encountered a strong obstacle, and then because Xiao Ai turned around, Black Zetsu's hand could no longer exert force. Xiao Ai turned around halfway, and was about to see the figure attacking him from behind. There was a twinkle in Black Zetsu's eyes. A terrifying mental attack erupted along the palm he had pierced into Xiao Ai's body. After that, Black Zetsu seemed to have turned into a liquid, stuck to Xiao Ai, got under Xiao Ai's clothes, and wrapped it. He wants to forcibly merge with Xiao Ai. In fact, he can't do it. In the original book, Black Zetsu can control 6 paths Obito, but Obito has a speciality, and Xiao Ai also has a special system in another direction, which can't be compared. However, Black Zetsu didn't think about it. To control Xiao Ai, he just wanted to. Outside the woods, a corridor from east to west. Hatake Teishuo returned to Konoha 4 days ago. Because he was far away before, he had just arrived nearby and wanted to go outside the village to see the situation of teacher Hangguang. There were several Konohas with Hatake Teishuo. Department of Young Ninjas. A violent chakra fluctuation was suddenly heard from the grove ahead. Everyone in the vicinity noticed it, and Hatake Teishuo naturally felt it too. His face changed greatly, and he blurted out, "Something happened." Hatake Teishuo rushed to the side of the woods, and before he could get in, he rushed out of the woods. A figure appeared. The runaway Xiao Ai punched like a hammer. When he saw Hatake Teishuo, he hit him directly with ninjutsu. Hatake Teishuo was stunned. They have been living in Konoha village for a year after apprenticeship, so naturally the two had frequent contact. "Xiao Ai!" Hatake Teishuo shouted loudly, just dodging, but not attacking Xiao Ai. With his strength, even if he can defeat Xiao Ai, it will take some time. Xiao Ai didn't hit hard, rushed past Hatake Teishuo, and rushed to the side of a ninja from the S division who followed Hatake Teishuo here. This person is a rising star of Konoha, from the Inuzuka clan, only 19 years old. Aged, only joined the S department for a year, and already has the strength of elite Jonin. Changliu. With just one blow, Xiao Ai knocked the boy from the Inuzuka clan into the air. It didn't kill directly, but it was also heavily wounded. "Xiao Ai, what are you doing?" Hatake Teishuo widened his eyes and shouted wildly. At the same time. In the forest outside Konoha village, Lao Ai is running wild. He came from the village of Kumogakure and arrived here in just 2 days. Originally, he had just entered the village of Konoha from the north gate of Konoha, but when he was still 30 kilometers away from the village of Konoha, someone attacked him. He didn't see who it was, just a few kunai threw an attack from the jungle. Lao Ai chased him all the way until he came to Konoha's west gate, and then he couldn't feel that person's breath at all. In fact, after entering the country of fire a day ago, Lao Ai felt that someone was following him, but he didn't expect that the person following him would dare to do it. Lost at this time, Lao Ai can only go to the village of Konoha. A familiar chakra wave suddenly appeared in Konoha village. Lao Ai frowned and accelerated instantly. The mad Xiao Ai has hit 3 S members in a row, but it is difficult to kill them all at once. A team from the nearby Uchiha police force rushed over, and 2 of them were directly killed by Chunin. Hatake Teishuo had tried his best to stop him, but at this moment, Xiao Ai didn't want to die at all, and Hatake Teishuo couldn't break his Raiden Thunder-style armor right away. White Fang is here. He hadn't gone far before, but when he sensed the situation, he came over quickly. He saw Xiao Ai kill, and then he took out his short knife. After the mad Xiao Ai killed another Uchiha Chunin, he felt something behind him. Wind. Turn around and hit. Boom _. The thunder on Xiao Ai's body was directly dissipated. Hatake Sakumo broke his Raiden Thunder-style chakra mode with just one knife. Xiao Ai vomited blood and flew out, but White Fang didn't hold back, and ran to catch up again. The short knife was straight. Attacked Xiao Ai's upper body, but did not point to the vital point. With this blow, Xiao Ai was at most crippled. In such a situation, as Captain Anbu, he naturally had to beat people down before subduing them. A more violent breath suddenly appeared at the west village entrance of Konoha village. "You dare!" A loud shout, like thunder. White Fang was shocked. The terrifying figure rushed in front of White Fang, and the two met in the air. Boom _. The White Fang knife flew out, and the man also flew out. Xiao Ai fell heavily into the forest, the black under the clothes quickly faded, black Zetsu drilled directly into the ground from under Xiao Ai, and the black hand suddenly appeared again, holding Kunwu and stabbed Xiao Ai several times, dive into the ground again and disappear. Chapter 0827-Crazy Undead. Everything is in Uchiha Madara and Black Zetsu's calculations. This time, Konoha's plan, and Hangguang's plan, involves the entire ninja world. The reason why White Zetsu only appeared today to lead Lu Han away is to wait for Lao Ai to come. Whether it was a misunderstanding or not, no matter what Konoha explained, as long as Xiao Ai died in front of Lao Ai, then Konoha and Kumogakure would have no way to recover. After finally giving Xiao Ai a few knives, Black Zetsu did not wait for the result, then sneaked into the ground and fled away. In the vast forest, the sun shines through the branches and leaves on the Madara, and the figure in the forest is like Hayate, like lightning, continuing to move forward, flying, and never stop. Lu Han has locked the White Zetsu body. He is very different from more than a year ago, mainly in perception ability. In the past, if White Zetsu sneaked into the ground, the insight map could not detect him, and Lu Han would have difficulty finding him. Has Pervert's perception ability due to practicing Sage Mode? It's too far away to say. As long as it's not far away, the target locked by him, even if there is any secret method, Lu Han will never know lost. White Zetsu panicked. He found out that he was locked by the cold light. Even if he sneaked underground with the Mayfly technique without revealing his breath, Lu Han could still track him. He can dive deeper underground, but not all places can do so. He sneaks with the technique of plankton, relying on the organic matter in the ground, relying on the groundwater, the roots of the underground plants, and if the deep underground is rock formations, it is impossible to dive in. He felt Lu Han's killing intent. Lu Han really wanted to kill him, even if he didn't know where Tsunade was. If White Zetsu dared to appear in front of him, he would definitely slash him. Although Tsunade was caught and Lu Han was afraid of rats, a White Zetsu was not enough for Lu Han to attack. What really matters is Black Zetsu. If Uchiha Madara was really determined to threaten Lu Han with Tsunade, then it would be impossible to do anything to Tsunade because White Zetsu was killed. Time flies. After about 2 hours. The southwest region of the Fire Country is still an endless forest. The insight map showed that White Zetsu disappeared again, but Lu Han put his hand on the handle of the knife. He had already felt that White Zetsu was approaching him. After about 2 breaths, and 20 meters ahead, White Zetsu suddenly sprang from the grass. Looked at Lu Han with a sneer. Han Guang, Tsunade Shi. White Zetsu may be trying to threaten Lu Han, or it may be sarcasm. But Lu Han didn't give him a chance. As soon as White Zetsu opened his mouth, Lu Han disappeared in front of his eyes. Immediately after, a terrifying light of a knife exploded behind White Zetsu, and the space shook. The sound of the blade cutting through the air resounded through the forest like thunder. White Zetsu looked horrified, his body shrank quickly, and the 2 large leaves around him quickly closed. Boom _. With this knife, Lu Han directly smashed the big leaf with almost absolute defense effect. The blade fell to the ground, tearing the ground directly. An earthquake occurred in the entire forest, and a line of 100 meters long was torn out from the ground in front of Lu Han. A crack of nearly 10 meters at its widest point. From the sky, the forest seems to open its mouth. It's your fate, Lu Han said in a cold voice and continued to chase. White Zetsu is not dead. Because that knife didn't hit White Zetsu's vital point, it just cut off one of its arms. For White Zetsu, who has Senjuhashirama cells and Master Spore technique, breaking an arm is not a serious injury. Not a human in the true sense, and his injuries cannot be seen from a human point of view. Han Guang, You dare to kill me! You dare to kill me! White Zetsu's shrill cry resounded through the mountains and forests 1 kilometer south of the crack. Lu Han said nothing and continued to chase after him. Crazy! It's crazy! Cold light! You don't want your wife's life! You dare to do something to me! White Zetsu was really furious and fearful. Just now, he almost died. The pulling force that Lu Han's knife is good at is extremely terrifying. If the knife falls on the ninja, it will directly tear people to pieces. No matter where it is chopped, it will be the same. White Zetsu has entered the state of the mayfly technique because of his special body, so that he was spared death. Hengguang, you are dead. Your whole family is dead. Wait for Tsunade to collect the body. Didn't you take me to Uchiha Madara? Can you really decide Tsunade's life or death? Oh, even if I kill you, Uchiha Madara will not give up using Tsunade to blackmail me because of you, don't you understand? Lu Han finally responded to White Zetsu. White Zetsu choked. Lu Han said was right at all. Even if he was killed by Lu Han, Uchiha Madara couldn't give up his original plan because of him. He died in vain, and even if the main body White Zetsu died, the clone White Zetsu died. Zetsu will still exist, and the body will die when it dies. Time flies. Lu Han chased and killed White Zetsu all the way. From day to night, White Zetsu didn't dare to jump out and say anything to Lu Han, but just ran desperately. The two chased and fled, and at night, they entered the country of Chuan, which is located in the southwest of the country of Fire. The Kingdom of Chuan, a medium-sized country in the Kingdom of Fire, has a land area more than double that of the Kingdom of Rain, but its strength is very average. Due to the many mountains and rivers in its territory, the population is small, and although there are not many ninjas, it can only be regarded as one side. Small neutral forces. From the map, the Kingdom of Chuan stands between the Kingdom of Fire and the Kingdom of Wind. Above is the Kingdom of Rain. It can be said to be surrounded by the 3 kingdoms of Wind, Fire and Rain. However, due to the terrain, when the 3 kingdoms are at war, it is rare to pass through the country of Chuan. After all, going over mountains and mountains is not a big deal for the strong, but for some Chunin genins, it is a bit difficult. It is precisely because of the terrain of the country of the river that the country of Rain has become the place of 3 battles. Otherwise, Sunagakure village would not have sent troops to the country of Rain, but would have gone directly to the country of River, and would be able to confront Konoha. South of the country of Sichuan, Kingsha Ridge. The night is thick, and the full moon hangs high. Chasing and killing White Zetsu for 10 hours, finally stopped after entering the Kingshaling area. White Zetsu had disappeared. Lu Han knew that he had sneaked into the distant forest, but he had no intention of chasing him. Yuhi name has appeared on the Insight map, and it is a big Yuhi name with a strength level and killing intent. Crazy Undead, Level 70 White Silver Boss, Uchiha Madara. Chapter 0828-King of the Times. Uchiha Madara's identity information is changing. I still remember the time when Lu Han found him in the Valley of the End. His identity was defined as a conspirator hidden in the dark, and the definition was very accurate. At that time, Uchiha Madara was indeed in the dark. What is he planning? And now, the definition of crazy undead is also in line with what Uchiha Madara is doing now. Crazy, he's really crazy. He should have died, but because of Gedo Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, he is alive. Kingsha Ridge is a vertical and horizontal mountain from north to south. In August and September every year, the desert monsoon blowing from the land of wind will pass through the mountain pass of Kingsha Ridge after entering the land of Chuan. The dry climate and wind and sand make Kingsha Ridge. There is not much vegetation on the sandy ridge, except for a few forests that are distributed in the mountains like Madara blocks, and the rest, even the grass is very foothill. At a glance, there are bare mountains everywhere, as well as wind-blown sand. This is Kingsha Ridge. Lu Han discovered Uchiha Madara. He stopped. His location was a mountain pass, with low mountains on both sides. It was only 200 or 300 meters wide, and it was relatively narrow. The basin is surrounded by mountains. There are forests on the north and south sides of the basin, but the area is only 1/10 of the basin, and there is a large area in the middle. Or an environment that can be called the Gobi. The bare ground, the sand and dust rolled by the wind, some large and small rocks, and the figure standing on the distant boulder, Uchiha Madara. It was 2 kilometers away from Luhan, but Luhan could still see him, and the two of them saw nothing blocking him. Luhan stared at Uchiha Madara for a while. Seeing that Uchiha Madara didn't put Tsunade out to threaten him, he jumped with his feet, disappeared and reappeared, but it was in front of him, about 1,800 meters away from Uchiha Madara. 1,600 meters away. Just like that, Luhan disappeared and appeared again and again. Until he stopped when he was still 200 meters away from Uchiha Madara. Uchiha Madara stood on a boulder with a width of 100 meters and a height of nearly 30 meters, which was as high as a 10-story building. His white hair was shaking in the wind. He looked down at Luhan. Neither of them spoke, staring at each other. "Where's Tsunade?" Luhan spoke first, and Sen Leng asked. "Hashirama's granddaughter." Uchiha Madara stared at Luhan. "She's dead." "I guess she's still alive," Luhan said with the same expression. "Why?" Uchiha Madara asked rhetorically. "Isn't it bad to be dead? If she is dead, I won't be threatened by me, will I?" "Because you want to kill me." Luhan clenched the hilt of the knife. "If Tsunade is dead, I will leave as soon as I say it. Although I am eager for revenge, I have nothing to worry about. You want me to stay, don't you? You say she died just to make me upset, and if I don't seek revenge from you, but just run away, will you let me see Tsunade?" Luhan was too aware of Uchiha Madara's purpose. Because Uchiha Madara has already revealed his strength level to Luhan, it means that he intends to hurt Luhan by himself. "You are very smart," Uchiha Madara praised Luhan, but said, "It's just a little clever. I admit that you are the strongest in this era. You have knowledge, scheming, and mind." "Sounds like a eulogy," Luhan interjected. "However, so what?" Uchiha Madara ignored Luhan and continued to say his own words. "In my time, I met many people like you, some amazing and talented people, more successful than you are more terrifying, but they also die faster than you, leaving only some sighs, some memories." Quote. "Actually, I am very sorry. Those who are born in line with the times, there are many people who are like you. They are not afraid of the sky and the earth. They have determination and perseverance, are not afraid of life and death, and dare to do things that ordinary people can't do, but they're all dead, and I've ended them." "So, are you planning to end me today?" Lu Lengli asked, subconsciously tapping the handle of the knife with his fingers. "Actually, I don't want to do this." Uchiha Madara put on a helpless expression, and said slowly, "You are the king of this era, although, with your strength, if it was 40 years ago, you would have done nothing. No, Hashirama, Tenon, any of them can end you, but it cannot be denied that you ruled this era. If you are 50 years old, I will not care about you, let you do anything. Wait 2 more 10 years, you are also old, your times will go back to the past, and someone will replace you." Quote. "But you, only 19 years old, 20 years later, it's still your era, 40 years, it's still. It can't be like this, it's not good. I think you understand what I mean. I don't know who you are, how did you know about the Moon Eye plan, but it doesn't matter anymore, you won't survive tonight. Seriously, someone is already saying that you are the ninja god, the next Senju Hashirama, and I admit, you have this potential. I'm already a little reluctant to kill you, but I have to. It's like, I will definitely lose to you, Uchiha Madara, you are already old." Luhan stared at Madara. "Since you admit that this is my time, you should hide in the cave honestly, why bother out? You should understand my troubles." "I don't understand. You're like a fool. Don't try to provoke me." Uchiha Madara shook his head at Luhan, his eyes squinting. "You can't do it, a person like you. I don't think you should say such things. I've told you so much, you should feel it. I didn't despise you, I didn't treat you as a junior, why should I hurt people with my tongue?" No 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 no, what I said is true, that sentence is not to scold you, you. Really a fool. Luhan emphasized the fact that Uchiha Madara was a fool. Uchiha Madara was silent for a while. Obviously, even with his mentality, being called a fool would still be uncomfortable. I'll give you a chance. Madara spoke again from the silence. I won't promise you anything, but you can listen. Luhan said. Join us. Uchiha Madara stretched out his hand to Luhan. Come. Let's change the world together. Chapter 0829 Ghetto Mazo, Demonic Statue of the Outer Path. Luhan can't understand Uchiha Madara's brain circuit. Invite. Do you think that the whole world is like you, that there is something missing in Kudachu Shen's head, and that you will not be able to react to being deceived for half your life? Is Uchiha Madara really so brainy? Of course not. Perhaps it was forced helplessness. You're scared. Facing Uchiha Madara's invitation, Luhan responded with these 3 words. Uchiha Madara stared at Luhan, slowly put down his hand. The calmness on his face gradually faded away. He seemed a little angry. It's the shame of being seen through the mind and turned into anger. You're afraid of losing, right? Luhan said again. Actually, you're not afraid of death. Life doesn't mean much to you. What you're afraid of is that when you die, everything will be over. What plan? What a dream. Now without you, everything is over, so you are afraid. You want to convince me, want to bribe me, want me to be with you. Be a fool, although you know that there is little hope. After all, in my life, there is no ups and downs like you have experienced, no one you understand. You know it's hard to convince me, but you still opened your mouth and pinned everything on the slightest chance. You're scared, right? Uchiha Madara's expressionless face. His heart has already suffered 10,000 critical hits. 10,000 grass mud horses had already rushed past him. Because Luhan is right. It was embarrassing. Uchiha Madara hadn't been so embarrassed for a long time, and he didn't bother to argue, to explain. Ha, ha 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 ha, cold light, good you cold light, ha 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 ha. Uchiha Madara laughed and laughed. You think you can see better than anyone else, so why don't you come with me? You still haven't seen it. Ching, in this sinful, filthy, ugly world, can you really be detached? Can you? I repeat, you are a fool. With you, am I not a fool? Luhan said to Uchiha Madara in a tone of, don't say it again, ask suicide again. Uchiha Madara restrained her smile again, looked at Luhan gloomily, and said hoarsely, I have to admit, you have already angered me. Do you know why I called you a fool? Luhan asked. Uchiha Madara was silent for a while, and seemed to be considering whether to continue talking with Luhan, and paused. Why? Because you were deceived. Luhan gave Uchiha Madara an ambiguous smile. Black Zetsu lied to you. Do you think the motto you saw at Nenga Shrine is true? Do you think Black Zetsu is really yours? Well, White Zetsu is really created by you with Yin and Yang escape. You are too naive. The so-called Moonai project is just a deception against you. Infinite Tsukuyomi is not the destination of the whole world. Dreams are dreams after all, the fake is fake. You're not a fool for what? Huh? What else do you know? Uchiha Madara had a gloomy face. He didn't believe Luhan's words, but Luhan was surprised that he knew so much. Otsutsuki Kagaya, do you know? Luhan continued, Black Zetsu, not your will, but Otsutsuki Kagaya's will. Long ago, Otsutsuki Kagaya. Enough. Uchiha Madara interrupted Luhan with a cold drink. Luhan didn't insist any longer. Uchiha Madara all the truth. Uchiha Madara would not believe it, because Luhan could not produce any evidence, and he could not explain why he knew this. On the other hand, Black Zetsu deceived Uchiha Madara for more than 30 years. Years later, the so-called Eye of the Moon project, Uchiha Madara has already formed an obsession with this, and he devoted the rest of his life to this project. It is not something that can be changed in a few words. Spiritual. If whispering, Uchiha Madara folded his hands together, his flying white hair shook violently, and a terrifying aura rose from him. Luhan retreated violently, also closing his hands. QB 9 tails chakra erupted on him. Rumbling, _. The ground was shaking, the whole mountain was shaking, and the roar seemed to tear Luhan's eardrums, but he saw that the boulder where Uchiha Madara was standing exploded directly. White smoke and dust shot into the sky at the same time, and the area within a kilometer radius was quickly destroyed. Smoke shrouded. A terrifying aura that Luhan had never experienced before appeared in the smoke. A behemoth, in place of the boulder, appeared at the foot of Uchiha Madara. Luhan withdrew far away in one breath. He had already entered the state of half-tailed beast. He was covered with tailed beast's coat, and there were 7 energy tails behind him, which made the whole person's aura become hideous. The smoke and dust dissipated quickly. When Luhan saw Uchiha Madara again, he had changed into a different look. He was wearing gray Japanese casual clothes before, but now, he has changed into Yuhi-colored armor with 2 weapons, a chain sickle in his hand, and a huge gourd-shaped fan on his back. Uchiha's artifact, Gunbai Uchiwa. Luhan remembered that there should also be a Gunbai Uchiwa in the Uchiha clan at this time. It is estimated that it should be a fake, or an imitation. The one in Uchiha Madara's hands is the real one. At the foot of Uchiha Madara, is a behemoth with a terrifying appearance. Like a mountain. It looks like a huge humanoid, but the body looks like dead wood, and most of the body is full of the texture of trees, with a big mouth, a total of 9 eyes, and behind this behemoth, there are 10 Jinchuriki columns shaped a bulge that looks like a broken tail. Exactly. 10 tails body Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path. He can actually channel Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path. Luhan's heart sank. Speaking of which, it is hard to say how Uchiha Madara channeled Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path. After all, he had already given away Rinnegan. At this time, he only had the transplanted backup Sharingan, but no Rinnegan. But from the other 2 perspectives, it is not impossible. First, Rinnegan is the eye that controls life and death, and the power contained in it is in the soul of the owner, so it is still possible for him to channel Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path. Second, he has linked himself to Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path. He lives by Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, and Master Yin and Young Un may also possess the ability to channel Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path. However, none of this matters. What Luhan cares most about is whether he can fight with Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path. Chapter 0830-Blade. You must know that Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, is not counted in Uchiha Madara's combat power, different from Luhan and QB, 9 tails Kushina and Wu Wei, Inuzuka Tears and Big Dog, and also different from Puppet Master and Puppets. These are all capable of fusion, fighting or cooperating with each other, and Uchiha Madara is not a 10 tails Jinchuriki column force. How much strength Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, has nothing to do with him, but he can use it how much. This is a very serious question. At present, in Luhan's eyes, Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, is Yuhi's name, and the information above his head is just the body of 10 tails Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, and does not show his strength level. That is to say, Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, will not hurt Luhan subjectively, but it is hard to say whether Uchiha Madara can control him to hurt Luhan. Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, is really special. Unlike a puppet, it is more like a pure weapon. At present, it can only be commanded and controlled by someone to fight. It cannot fight by itself, because the strength it can exert depends entirely on the person who controls it. Can give it some strength. It is said that it has powerful combat power, but it is just an empty shell, and it is true that there is a huge vitality in it, but there is no chakra, the chakra of Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, which is a tailed beast. To QB, 9 tails, is its chakra. Now, all tailed beasts are not in the body of Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path. Therefore, if Uchiha Madara were to control Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, to fight, the source of the energy would have to be himself, which would be a terrible burden on him. The smoke has dissipated. The moonlight splashed down, making Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path's massive body even more terrifying. The white-haired Uchiha Madara stood on the top of Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, with the sickle in front of him, as if he had regained the feeling of the past. The momentum rose in him. 1 kilometer away. Luhan stared at the behemoth, stared at Uchiha Madara, and a pair of eternal Mangekyo Sharingan spun wildly in his eyes. He is trying. Try to control Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path. He doesn't know if he can control it, but it's okay to try. After all, Uchiha Madara doesn't have Rinnegan. It's useless. Uchiha Madara's voice rolled like thunder, and he had used the power of yin and yang to isolate everything. Give it up, put away your tricks. In front of absolute strength, everything you do will become futile. Where's Tsunade? Luhan asked Tsunade again. You won't see her again. Uchiha Madara replied coldly. It seems that he has the determination to kill Luhan. I advise you to return Tsunade to me. There is no need for us to fight today, otherwise, you will regret it. Han Guang, are you afraid? Tisk tisk, don't do this. I'm doing this for your own good. Humph. Uchiha Madara snorted coldly and stopped talking. In fact, he never thought of using Tsunade to threaten Luhan and let Luhan do what, because that would be pointless. If he wanted to kill Luhan, he couldn't use Tsunade to threaten Luhan and let Luhan commit suicide, right? It would be hell if it worked out. Since Luhan couldn't be directly killed, there was really no need to do anything else. Tsunade was caught, just to lead Hengguang here, so that Hengguang would not bring other people with him, that's all. The basin quickly became silent. Only the violent aura was rising, Luhan's black hair was dancing wildly with the wind, and Uchiha Madara's white hair was shaking with the wind. 4 eyes facing each other. There seems to be an electric light flickering. Let's fight. Uchiha Madara suddenly shouted, jumped directly from Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, and disappeared like a heavy cannon. Light like thunder. Can Uchiha Madara use a knife? Of course. And his knives are very strong. It's just that his ninjutsu strength is far more than any strength in taijutsu, so now the world doesn't know much about his swordsmanship, and in the Sengoku era decades ago, whether it was Uchiha Madara or Senju Hashirama, in the Chaos Army. Among them, most of them are fighting with swordsmanship. It is said that you are known as the strongest swordsman, let me try. Uchiha Madara's voice sounded behind Luhan. Humph. Lu Leng snorted, but he didn't expect that the old Uchiha Madara would come to melee him, but his subordinates were not ambiguous and turned around to fight. Figures are like wind, and swords are like thunder. However, I saw 2 figures fighting at a speed that ordinary people couldn't understand. The huge basin was full of afterimages of the 2 of them. The sword of shock and the sickle collided again and again, and the shock waves swept up the sand again and again. The reason why Uchiha Madara chose to fight Luhan with swordsmanship is very simple. Because he wanted to kill Luhan quickly. He is old after all, and relying on Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, to continue his life, his strength is no longer as strong as he was in the past. If he was in his prime, killing Luhan would naturally be easy, but now, he can only spend some thought and use the most easy way to kill people. Uchiha Madara's biggest shortcoming now is his lack of physical fitness. Senju Hashirama for a day and a night with full output and firepower, and he was able to persevere. And now, he doesn't know how long he can maintain the best fighting state, an hour. 2 hours. Physical fitness is his biggest weakness. His degraded fighting consciousness, speed, agility, and strength will not lose to Luhan. Only physical fitness is completely incomparable. So he used the knife technique. Swordsmanship has a very obvious feature, that is, once there is a difference between strength and weakness, the gap is slightly larger, then the weaker side will die quickly, while ninjutsu is different. Although ninjutsu is more destructive, As long as the weaker side did not fall directly into the ninjutsu attack, and even if it barely blocked the attack, the battle could last for a long time. Especially if the strength has reached the level of cold light, it is very difficult to quickly defeat and kill him with ninjutsu. The two sides fought fiercely for 5 minutes. The entire basin, except for the forests on both sides, left footprints of the two in almost all other areas. This guy, if it's a war of attrition, huh? Lu Lang smiled. He already has a deep understanding of Uchiha Madara's swordsmanship. The two of them, one focusing on speed and the other focusing on skills, are inseparable. In fact, the advantage was on Lu Han's side, because the old Uchiha Madara couldn't maintain his best condition for long. Uchiha Madara pulled away suddenly, hand seal spitting fire. Cadent fire style, majestic destroyer flame, great fire annihilation. Chapter-0821-840 Kill the game. A mass of flame spewed out of Uchiha Madara's mouth, and it swelled enormously in an instant. In terms of form, majestic destroyer flame, great fire annihilation should be an enlarged version of the grand fireball, but it should not exceed the scope of the fireball, and Uchiha Madara released the majestic destroyer flame, great fire annihilation that came out was like a mountain after the explosion. It is unimaginably huge, even more than 100 meters in diameter. Damn it! Lu Han's face changed dramatically. He wanted to compete with Uchiha Madara against majestic destroyer flame, great fire annihilation. After all, LV9 has a huge advantage against LV6, and Lu Han is still in the state of half-tailed beast, but now look, Uchiha Madara's majestic destroyer flame, great fire annihilation, it's pretty scary. Elf, what's going on? Lu Han asked eagerly while dodging. Uchiha Madara's majestic destroyer flame, great fire annihilation, why is it so big? Majestic destroyer flame, great fire annihilation could have been this big. The elf replied. Ah, Lu Han was surprised. At this time, Uchiha Madara came to Lu Han again. Lu Han didn't understand the situation and did not fight with Uchiha Madara. Precarious. What did you mean just now? Elf. Lu Han said anxiously, don't pretend to be dead. The convergence control of the flame, the master is in the hands of the caster. The elf said again. Lu Han understood a little. Uchiha Madara was chasing him. Lu Han couldn't concentrate on the challenge because he communicated with the elves. He also understood that a slight negligence by a master could lead to a big mistake, so he kept avoiding it. Thinking about it, Lu Han seemed to understand something, and finally he did not hide, and faced Uchiha Madara. The sword was like thunder. The two fought for a few more minutes. Uchiha Madara didn't have the mind to fight attrition, and walked away again. As soon as his body zoomed in and out, he appeared dozens of meters away. In theory, White Zetsu's mayfly technique came from Senju Hashirama. Of cells, Senju Hashirama should know the mayfly technique, and Uchiha Madara, who has Senju Hashirama cells, should also. But he didn't know what kind of instant ability he was using. Original book, there are only dozens of abilities that Uchiha Madara has displayed, but in fact, his master must be more than that. Just for the Uchiha family's signature Kaden fire style, he should have dozens of masters. Species, and the techniques obtained from Senju Hashirama cells are even more numerous and varied. But many techniques, Uchiha Madara may not have used it a few times in his life. Same is true for Lu Han. He has mastered thousands of ninjutsu, but only dozens of them are commonly used, and the rest are useless. Uchiha Madara appeared dozens of meters away from Lu Han, and once again hand seal spit fire. Because of the speed of his hand seal, it seemed as if he shook his hands and spit out fire. Cadent fire style, majestic destroyer flame, great fire annihilation. It's majestic destroyer flame, great fire annihilation again. It's huge again. This time, Lu Han did not dodge or dodge, and hand seal confronted him. Cadent fire style, great fire destruction. The showdown between LV6 majestic destroyer flame, great fire annihilation and LV9 ultimate great fire destruction. The great fire destruction was like an arrow and a spear, and the terrifying flames pierced the mountain like fire directly, hitting Uchiha Madara. Luhan immediately understood in his heart that the reason why Uchiha Madara's majestic destroyer flame, Great Fire Annihilation is so big is because Uchiha Madara enlarged the flame, just enlarged its size, but its power did not increase. On the contrary, because the flame is scattered, it is easier to be penetrated. Luhan didn't understand the purpose of Uchiha Madara. But he got it right away. Saw that after the great fire destruction would penetrate like a mountain of fire, the raging fire had already swallowed up Uchiha Madara, but Uchiha Madara was chasing his hands backward and took down the Gunbai Uchiwa on his back. Directly to the great fire destruction. Uchiha bounces back. Great fire destruction turned its head and hit Luhan. Fuck! Luhan exclaimed. Uchiha Madara is so calculated. He grasped everything very accurately. He deliberately enlarged the majestic destroyer flame, Great Fire Annihilation first, which was to give Luhan a chance to penetrate the majestic destroyer flame, Great Fire Annihilation, but the majestic destroyer flame, Great Fire Annihilation that was penetrated did not. It will disappear, and it will still form a turbulent momentum towards Luhan, and then, LV9 Great Fire Destruction will be rebounded. This is equivalent to LV6 Majestic Destroyer Flame, Great Fire Annihilation and LV9 Great Fire Destruction forming a combined attack, hitting Luhan at the same time. Cold. At this moment, Luhan had no chance to perform his counter ninjutsu again. Everything happened too fast. In layman's terms, the opportunity Uchiha Madara seized was when Luhan's old strength had exhausted his new strength. Although Luhan also had the ability to rebound, he could only rebound one technique, but he was hit by two techniques. Hide. Luhan retreated violently, dodging the surging flames, and quickly retreated. Other side of the flame, Uchiha Madara disappeared immediately after wielding Gunbai Uchiwa. He rebounded his ninjutsu with his ninja tools, but he didn't have much effort, and his whole body was in good shape, while Luhan, on the other side of the flame, was disturbed by the rhythm. The western end of the raging fire. The half-tailed animalized Luhan was retreating, but after 2 breaths, his whole body tightened, and the hairs on his back exploded. He felt the murderous intent suddenly appearing behind him. Uchiha Madara ghosts usually appear behind Luhan, slashing straight to the back of Luhan's neck. If this knife was hit, with Uchiha Madara's power, Luhan's head would have to be chopped off. And Uchiha Madara's sword skills are not weaker than Luhan's, and the speed is terrifyingly fast. Everything is too fast, and Luhan wants to turn around and fight, but it's too late. Shikatsumyaku, Dead Bone Pulse, broke out at this moment. A row of sharp thorns burst out from the back of Luhan's back in an instant, to counteract Uchiha Madara's knife, giving Luhan a momentary chance to breathe. Uchiha Madara had already taken the lead, but he immediately retracted the knife and disappeared, and then the ground burst, and countless thorns and vines were thrown from the ground, attacking Luhan in all directions. Mokuden, wood style. Immediately afterwards, dozens of Uchiha Madara flashes appeared above Luhan's head. Still Mokuden, wood style, wooden avatar. They all had strange seals, some kind of sealing technique, and the power of yin and yang escape. At this moment, Luhan lost all sense of Hiraishinkanai to the outside world. One side, LV9 Great Fire Destruction and LV6 Majestic Destroyer Flame, Great Fire Annihilation are still sweeping. Around the body, thorns and vines form a siege cage. Above, dozens of wooden clones activated the sealing technique at the same time, imprisoning Luhan in place, and isolating Luhan from other Hiraishinkanai's induction from the outside world. This is Uchiha Madara's thunderous momentum. Kill the game. Chapter 0832-Cold Light vs Uchiha Madara. It seems that every powerhouse with a terrifying strength in the Meganon world, in addition to possessing a frightening combat power, also has an extraordinary combat strategy ability, even if it is as mad as Uchiha Madara. If Luhan was weaker than him, he would be too lazy to use a strategy and directly overwhelm him. But Luhan did not appear to be weaker than him, on the contrary, he had an advantage over him. Therefore, if Uchiha Madara wanted to solve Lu Han quickly, he had to use some calculations in the battle. His calculations were successful. Twice with the oversized version of the majestic destroyer flame, Great Fire Annihilation, in order to have an instant chance when Lu Han counterattacks. In the crisis, Lu Han didn't have many options. Even if he had all kinds of abilities, he couldn't do anything because of lack of time. He had no choice but to stretch out his hand and trigger the Ring of 10,000 Techniques. Boom _ Futon Wind Style, the art of flower rain cutting. The huge lotus flower composed of small wind blades bloomed in front of Lu Han, sweeping in all directions. The wooden thorns and vines were destroyed, dozens of wooden clones above were smashed, and the attacking majestic destroyer flame, Great Fire Annihilation and Great Fire Destruction was resisted for several breaths. Lu Han's Futon Wind Style flower and rain cutting technique is only LV4, while majestic destroyer flame, Great Fire Annihilation is LV6, and Great Fire Destruction is LV9. Even if the latter two are only A-level ninjutsu, their power is still very strong to exceed the flower rain cut. But Lu Han is in the state of half-tailed beast, and the power of the flower rain cutting technique has increased several times. For Lu Han, he removed all the constraints and obstacles around him. Lu Han pulled away, the flickering disappeared, and left Uchiha Madara directly. The flames burst, burned half of the basin, and quickly extinguished. When the flames disappeared, Lu Han and Uchiha Madara, whose positions were uncertain, stopped at the same time and stared at each other. Instant. Uchiha Madara stared at Lu Han and questioned. He just thought that he could kill Lu Han directly, but the killing was broken by Lu Han, and everything was due to the Futon Wind Style forbidden technique that was displayed in that instant. Do you have a lot of chakra? Lu Han didn't answer Uchiha Madara's question, but asked in a slightly sarcastic tone, a few more times with Mokuten Wood Style. I don't need to kill you, you should die too. Hey, Uchiha Madara sneered, as if too lazy to explain, and then ran away. The figure killed directly in front of Lu Han, and in just a few tens of seconds, he fought with Lu Han for thousands of knives, and his body suddenly split into three, besieging Lu Han, but Lu Han formed an absolute defense with the knife light, and the fast knife dance was inseparable. Through the wind, he broke Uchiha Madara's two clones one after another, and then threw hundreds of Hiraishin kunai in a way that filled the sky and rained, then disappeared, and killed Uchiha Madara with the kunai attack. Uchiha Madara fled away, and then the entire basin shook violently. Mokuten Wood Style World of Trees Wall. One by one, towering trees burst out of the ground, and in just a few breaths, the entire basin became lush and lush. Those Hiraishin kunai scattered all over the place, many were drawn by the vines and were smashed to pieces. Old man, you are in good health. Lu Han didn't forget to tease Uchiha Madara. At the same time, he attacked the entire basin with Shikatsumiku, Dead Bone Pulse, Early Fern Dance, instantly outputting 10% chakra, and with the same attack range, the bottom-up attack destroy the tree forest that Uchiha Madara just summoned. Kaden Fire Style Dragon Flame Release Song Jutsu. Uchiha Madara Hand Seal made a big move. Kaden Fire Style Dragon Flame Release Song Jutsu. Lu Han followed Hand Seal to make a big move. Ninjutsu vs. Boom. Uchiha Madara is no match. Because Uchiha Madara can't break the world's upper limit of LV6, but Lu Han is only able to raise the highest level of ninjutsu to LV9. Uchiha Madara disappeared without a trace. Appeared again and fought with Lu Han again. The aging Uchiha Madara is still fierce and unusual, but apart from calculating Lu Han once and almost killing Lu Han, he never found any chance after that. Compared with ninjutsu, Lu Han is not weaker than him. Compared with forbidden technique, he is no stronger than Lu Han. He can't kill Lu Han. Of course, Lu Han couldn't kill him either. However, both of them have whole cards that are useless. In fact, Lu Han is very worried, although he knows that with Uchiha Madara's current state, he should not be able to use terrifying ultimate moves such as Wood Dragon Jutsu, otherwise his strength will break the rating, but Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, has been standing in the one side of the basin, did not move. Uchiha Madara called out Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, which could not be used as a display. Perhaps, it would be a great burden for him to drive Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, to fight, which should be the reason why he has not used Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, until now. Time flies. In a flash, the two fought for another hour. Uchiha Madara once tried to control Luhan with the sealing technique, but Luhan ran away with the technique of Hiraishin. This guy, QB, Nine Tails. It's QB, Nine Tails, helping him. Otherwise he can't be this strong. Uchiha Madara seemed calm on the outside, expressionless, but in fact he was roaring inside. Can Shikatsumyaku, Dead Bone Pulse, S dance of early ferns really break the world of trees wall? Originally it was impossible, but the dance of the early ferns displayed in the half-tailed beast state, the power was increased several times, so it was enough. It is a half-tailed beast, and it is QB, Nine Tails, chakra, which has pushed Luhan's strength to a new height, speed, strength, perception ability, ninjutsu power, etc., all aspects of ability, all because of the half-tailed beast. To be promoted. Damn it. Uchiha Madara bit Kiba, dodged around to Luhan's side, and slashed with a knife. Luhan naturally wouldn't be hurt by this technique. Fought for a few more minutes, and unknowingly, under the intentional guidance of Uchiha Madara, the two came closer to Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path. Uchiha suddenly pulled away, and Mokuden, wood style, broke out. Clone to Luhan. However, hundreds of vines sprang out from the ground and covered Luhan like a net. At the same time, more than 10 wooden clones, Uchiha Madara, also rushed towards Luhan from different angles. Luhan's sword was as bright as rain, crushing all the attacks around him with the force of the wind sweeping the leaves. At the same time, the body of Uchiha Madara flickered on the top of Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, his hands clasped together, his white hair fluttered wildly, and unknown mental fluctuations erupted in a terrifying gesture. Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, moves. The nine eyes opened at the same time, pounced on Luhan, opened a terrifying giant mouth, and let out a screeching sound. A ray of black light shot out of Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path. That's a chakra chain. Instantly hit Luhan. Chapter 0833-Seal QB, Nine Tails. Too fast. Luhan had already realized the abnormality. When the scream appeared, he wanted to retreat first with the technique of Hiraishin, but the attack came too fast. The chakra chains spit out by Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, are not ordinary energy attacks, nor do they have the usual nature transformation and morphological changes. Just spit out chakra. So too fast. Before Luhan's body disappeared, he was hit by the chakra chain, but the process of his disappearance was not interrupted. It seemed that the black light directly knocked him out. Above the head of Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, Uchiha Madara looked older, and his face was exhausted. This exhaustion was worse than when he and Luhan had been fighting for more than an hour just now. Because his body is really overwhelmed, and driving Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, the body must be under enormous pressure. He really didn't want to use Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, if it wasn't necessary. Fortunately, the blow just now hit. Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, regained its calm. Luhan appeared on the scorched land 1 kilometer away from Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path. His body changed rapidly, and all the tail animal characteristics disappeared quickly, like degeneration. After a few breaths, he recovered the appearance of a normal person. The chakra chains of Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path. Luhan muttered. He already knew the effect of the blow from Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, just now. That blow had no killing effect, and if there was, it couldn't be that fast. Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, the only function of the chakra chain is to seal the tailed beast on Luhan. QB, Nine Tails, is sealed. It can also be said that the chakra chain reinforced the 8th trigram's seal on Luhan, so that Luhan completely lost contact with Kyubi, Nine-Tails. He could no longer enter the state of half-tailed beast, and could no longer borrow Kyubi. Nine-Tails chakra. Han Guang, do you still think that I am old? Uchiha Madara's voice rolled like thunder, looking at Luhan's eyes, full of unruly colors. Luhan's ability as a human Jinchuriki column force, Uchiha Madara feels that the victory is in his hands. Old fool, you haven't won yet, why are you trying to take advantage of me? Luhan seemed very calm, making it impossible to see what he was thinking. That's right, Uchiha Madara nodded, then disappeared directly above Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path. Luhan was highly vigilant, his eyes narrowed, and then he quickly turned around. The sword of Jinghong burst out with a terrifying light, and Uchiha Madara, who appeared, fought with Luhan recklessly, knocking Luhan back a few steps, and then the ground burst once again, countless big trees burst out of the ground, and the tree world came again. This time, if Luhan can't break the tree world, he will probably die in the tree world. Jinghong peerless. Lightning flashed, and a huge thunderball swept a passage in the forest. Luhan ran quickly along the passage, and at the same time hand-sealed. Multiple shadow clone technique. Countless white smoke exploded around Luhan, and thousands of Luhan appeared. Each avatar, Luhan, was by no means weak, but it was not considered to be very powerful. Stop and wave again. The faceless man and the barbarian shield soldier appeared. Go and hold Uchiha Madara, Luhan said quickly, saying this to the faceless man. Under the leadership of the faceless man and the barbarian shield soldiers, thousands of clones, Luhan, rushed towards Uchiha Madara. Kaden fire-style ninjutsu broke out, forming a violent roar, and a terrifying shock wave. The smoke and dust were rising, obscuring the night. Even if Uchiha Madara is strong, it is impossible to quickly solve these enemies, not to mention the faceless man and the brutal shield. The strength of the soldiers, cooperation, even the thousands of clones, are not so easy to kill. Luhan consumed a full 50% of the chakra for them. In fact, normally, 10% of Luhan's chakra is enough for 1,000 avatars. But Luhan was afraid that they would die too soon, so he gave more. Chaos, unstoppable. Taking advantage of the chaos, Luhan left the King-Shelling Basin and used Horaishin's technique to quickly leave 10 kilometers away. He drilled into the forest under the cliff, and found a relatively hidden location. He crossed his knees under the giant tree to stabilize his mind. Quiet. Luhan entered a mysterious ethereal state. The whole person was calm like an eternal sculpture. The rustling of the trees in the forest became more and more intense. It seemed that a swallowing Uzumaki appeared in Luhan's body, producing a huge the power of attraction. The natural energy in the forest began to gather towards Luhan and penetrated into his body. After a minute. Ding! Remind Subversive 3665 that the barbarian shield soldier has been killed, and there are still 24 hours left in the cooling time of the psychic. Another half minute. Ding! Remind Subversive 3665 that Faceless Shinobi has been killed, and there are still 72 hours left in the cooldown of psychic. It was too fast. In just 2 minutes, the barbarian shield soldier and the faceless man were killed one after another. Obviously, Uchiha Madara was on a rampage to kill the enemy. If not, even if he was a level 70 white silver boss, he would not be able to kill so quickly. The combined strength is comparable to the faceless man and the savage shield soldier of the level 70 bronze boss. After all, Uchiha Madara is only one person, and his attack cannot make the sword and shield duo quickly exhaust the chakra. It can only be a frontal kill. This should be said to be a very scary thing. After all, in addition to the sword and shield duo, there are thousands of Hengguang clones helping out. Perhaps, Uchiha Madara has already surpassed the Faceless in battle strategy to achieve such rapid results. King-Shelling Basin, the cold light clones are still overwhelming Uchiha Madara, and Uchiha Madara is slaughtering them. These clones are really, very fragile, and it can be said that they will die after a single blow. Whether it's the slashing of the vines or the slashing of Uchiha Madara's sword, they will be beaten into white mist. However, after all, there is a certain quantitative basis. Not to mention 1,000 clone ninjas, even 1,000 pigs will take some time to kill, not to mention, these cold light clones are all capable of ninjutsu. About 5 minutes before and after, Uchiha Madara solved all the troubles and slaughtered the Hangguang clone. All dead, all gone. The body of the cold light is missing. Find him. He won't leave, he must be nearby. Uchiha Madara shouted. White Zetsu appeared in the forest and disappeared. Chapter-821-840 Senpo, Sage Art. Practicing Sage Mode for nearly a year and a half, Luhan has never used Sage Mode in battle, not only because it is a trump card, but also because he can't enter Sage Mode quickly, so it is a bit troublesome to use Sage Mode to fight. In the original work, the ninja who can quickly enter Sage Mode is Senju Hashirama. Normally, entering Sage Mode cannot be so fast at all. You need to sit on the ground in a calm state to absorb natural energy. The energies are equal, that is, 1/3 each. No more or less, otherwise the absorbed natural energy will dissipate, and you will not be able to enter Sage Mode at all. Luhan speculates that the reason why Senju Hashirama can quickly enter Sage Mode is related to his pervert's chakra control. He can quickly absorb natural energy while accurately controlling the ratio of the three energies. Luhan, on the other hand, didn't have the skills of Senju Hashirama yet. However, the speed at which he entered Sage Mode was already dissatisfied. White Zetsu got Uchiha Madara's order and quickly escaped from the battlefield and walked along the ground. He quickly noticed the abnormality. It was a very strange feeling. It seemed that something was moving between the heavens and the earth. He stuck his head out of the grass. The terrifying light of the sword cut off White Zetsu's head. White Zetsu was stunned, and he shrank back. Because he had just stuck his head out and had not yet escaped the state of the mayfly technique, he avoided the blow. Luhan ignored him and went straight to the basin battlefield. In the basin battlefield, the trees were moving like water. Uchiha Madara stood on top of a towering tree, and suddenly frowned, as if he felt something, and moved his footsteps subconsciously. Luhan, who appeared silently behind him, had already chopped off the knife, but missed. Only then did Uchiha Madara react. He was able to dodge the blow just now. It was his sixth sense that saved him. Seeing that Luhan had been exposed, he stopped suppressing his breath. After chasing Uchiha Madara closely, it seemed that he could kill him at any time. Rumbling. Uchiha Madara was shocked, and quickly mobilized the trees and vines to attack Luhan, and at the same time retreated violently. Branches, vines, wood thorns. The attacks hit Luhan overwhelmingly. Luhan had the tendency to block and kill the gods and Buddhas. He kept his feet on the ground, destroying everything in front of him. The sawdust flew and the smoke was like a cloud. Luhan killed him abruptly and approached Uchiha Madara again. Uchiha Madara's expression was awe-inspiring, but she was not afraid. She stopped retreating and faced Luhan. The two fought against each other for 16 swords in a row. The 17th sword, Luhan's power exploded. The terrifying force was transmitted to Uchiha Madara's sickle through the Sword of Shock. The sickle flew straight out, and Uchiha Madara vomited blood and flew upside down. I can't stand it at all. Luhan in Sage Mode has reached the ultimate combat power, surpassing the general level 70 White Silver boss, and his strength is close to the level 70 Gold boss. Moreover, this is still under the condition that Luhan's Master Sage Mode is not deep. Sage Mode, damn it. The old Uchiha Madara roared hoarsely. He saw Yuhi's colorful face on Luhan's face. He naturally knows Sage Mode. Because Senju Hashirama has mastered Sage Mode. Luhan chases and kills Uchiha Madara. Uchiha Madara fled frantically, and when he reached the vicinity of Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, he stepped on the giant tree and turned around abruptly, his hands clasped together. Go to hell. The tree world made a roaring sound. This time, the entire tree world forest moved, and thorns flew out like javelins, hitting Luhan. Countless tiny roots erupted from the ground below the forest. Extremely long, rapidly extending, trying to wrap Luhan around, some trees turned into huge wooden hammers and hit Luhan. The huge wooden palm wanted to slap Luhan to death. The thorns were like whips, and they came madly. The giant tree seemed to have turned into a human being, waving its thick branches and attacking with the power of breaking rocks. This time it wasn't Uchiha Madara who went berserk, but the whole forest went berserk. Attacks are everywhere. Moreover, the trees in the forest are still getting bigger. Some towering trees are taller than the distant hills. Uchiha Madara has already tried his best. At this time, with his physical state, he is unable to use ultimate moves such as Wood Dragon Jutsu and Wood Golem Jutsu. The technique of killing thorns, the technique of cutting, the technique of wooden hammer, he can activate all, and the slightly more difficult Mokuden, wood style, the technique of all cloth bags, he can also release the less powerful simplified version. Uchiha Madara is no longer holding back. He releases as many Mokuden, wood-style, attacking secrets as possible, and chakra is also consuming frantically and quickly. He wants to directly decide the winner with this. Luhan was deeply caught up in it and had to work hard. Whole body exploded with thunder and entered the Raiden, thunder-style, chakra mode. The defense power of the Raiden, thunder-style, armor in Sage mode was probably no worse than that of Lao Ai's Raiden, thunder-style, armor. Senpo, Sage Art Rasengan. The Lavender Rasengan broke out in the siege, setting off a surging wave. The surrounding trees were swept away, and all attacks were destroyed, but immediately new trees appeared, and new attacks arrived. Senpo, Sage Art Spiralan Pill. Senpo, Sage Art Kaden, Fire Style, Dragon Flame Release Song Jutsu. Senpo, Sage Art Futon, Wind Style. In the countless Mokuden, wood style, attacks, Luhan flashed left and right, bombarded indiscriminately. The forest was destroyed again and again, and resurrected again and again. The Mokuden, wood-style, attack continued. In fact, Luhan, there is a chance to escape with the technique of Hiraishin, but there is no point in leaving. He cannot maintain Sage mode for too long, and he also knows that Uchiha Madara has given up. Both of them don't have much time. Luhan lifted the Sage mode first, or Uchiha Madara reached the bottom of chakra first, or his body couldn't hold it up, was the key to victory or defeat. Luhan didn't think he would lose to Uchiha Madara. Because he cheated, before returning to the basin battlefield, he drank half of the blue medicine he had accumulated, barely filling up the chakra. His state was much better than Uchiha Madara. Time flies. I can't tell the speed, because every moment is very tense, every step of the crisis. Luhan fought desperately. Sudden, cold screams sounded in the distance. It was Tsunade's voice. Chapter 0835 _ I'll kill you uncle. Waking up from the confusion, Tsunade still has the blood and fire that hadn't dissipated in his mind. The roar echoed in Tsunade's mind, Hanzo's treacherous eyes, Onoki's sinister smile, and that white bastard. Opened her eyes again, and in front of Tsunade was a blue-gray stone wall. She could feel the pain behind her, and the sense of restraint wrapped around her hands and feet. Tsunade, who was born in the Senju clan and had a deep sense of entanglement with the Uzumaki clan, understood that this kind of restraint sense, it is sealing technique. The body can still transform chakra, but the chakra movement is extremely sluggish, and the hands cannot be put together, and it is impossible to hand seal. Tsunade finally saw the surrounding environment clearly. This was a cave that was not anywhere. It was very large. There were torches hanging on the stone wall not far away. The white figure stood a few meters away like a ghost, and his face was very strange. Tsunade stood up, staggering. She wanted to ask something, but was powerless. I didn't expect that he would actually. White Zetsu muttered, turned into a shadow and rushed in front of Tsunade, holding Tsunade to the side of the cave passage. Just now, White Zetsu was ordered by Uchiha Madara to bring Tsunade into the battlefield. This step was not in Uchiha Madara's previous plan. Uchiha Madara never thought of using Tsunade to coerce Luhan, but an uncontrollable accident happened. The old Uchiha Madara couldn't beat the cold light of the immortal state at all. He only had this last step left. Chess. White Zetsu and Tsunade flew through the winding cave passages, twisted and turned, and then stepped up the upward slope. This cave is deep underground. In less than a minute, White Zetsu and Tsunade rushed in. Channel, jumped to the surface. This is a mountain with strange rocks, which can be hundreds of meters high. The moonlight pours on the top of the mountain, leaving a silver light. In the north of the mountain, it is a basin sunken in the mountains, and the vast forest there is like a tide. Usually in flow, the terrifying Mokuden wood style attacks wave after wave, and in the middle of the forest, there is a figure rushing back and forth, constantly destroying all the attacks around the body, but Mokuden wood style attacks seem endless. The west side of the wood realm forest, a huge Geto Mazo demonic statue of the outer path, stands proudly, and there is a figure with flying white hair on it. It is an old man, his face is very old with wrinkles, and he looks like he may be 90 years old. Tsunade stared at it all, she didn't know what was going on. But see. In the heavy attack of Mokuden wood style, a terrifying flame erupted, sweeping across the small basin, destroying all Mokuden wood style attacks, and a thin figure leapt from the newly formed clearing, killing the old man on top of the wooden monster. Countless trees and vines burst out, blocking his way. Tsunade's pupils contracted violently, and he exclaimed, "Cold." She saw it clearly, and the figure she got was her husband, Han Guang. Lu Han, who was fighting desperately, was shocked, and suddenly turned his head to look up the mountain in the south. He saw Tsunade and White Zetsu, who was holding Tsunade hostage. On Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, Uchiha Madara breathed a sigh of relief. At this time, his hair was not only white, but even had a dry yellow feeling, like straw. His face, expression, and body were extremely tired. Hangguang, make a choice. You die or she dies. Uchiha Madara shouted. I'll kill you, uncle. Lu Han shouted violently, dodging and disappearing into the siege. Next moment, Lu Han appeared at the foot of Nanshan Mountain in the basin. Uchiha Madara followed him directly behind Lu Han. He knew that it was impossible for Lu Han to bow his head and admit defeat. He didn't expect to kill Lu Han directly. Then Tsunade moved out, and wanted it just made Lu Han uneasy. Uchiha Madara's sickle was like a thunderbolt, slashing behind Lu Han. Lu Han turned around fiercely, and the sword of shock was cut out. Boom _. Uchiha Madara flew upside down like a cannonball, spitting up blood again. Lu Han ignored him, threw out Hiraishin Kunai, and went straight to White Zetsu and Tsunade. He believed that White Zetsu would not dare to hurt Tsunade, otherwise there would be no means of checks and balances, and it would be meaningless to hold Tsunade hostage. White Zetsu moved wildly up the mountain with Tsunade. Lu Han flashed up the mountain and approached White Zetsu at high speed. Sudden. A ghostly figure appeared in front of White Zetsu and Tsunade, holding a scythe and carrying Gunbai Uchiwa on his back. The scythe and the blade slashed horizontally, blocking both White Zetsu and Tsunade behind. Uchiha Madara, with these bloodstains on the corner of his mouth, stared at Lu Han with sharp eyes. Rat thrower. Lu Han suddenly stopped moving forward and looked at Uchiha Madara with gloomy eyes. This is the most effective threat. White Zetsu didn't dare to mess around. He didn't dare to hurt Tsunade, because he was a little brother, but Uchiha Madara didn't have any scruples, and when he was in a hurry, he dared to kill anyone and wouldn't keep his hand. On the cliff, Lu Han was only 100 meters away from Uchiha Madara. Hangguang, actually I don't want to take this step, you should understand. Uchiha Madara stared at Lu Han. You forced me. So, you want to kill me? Lu Han looked at Uchiha Madara with bloodshot eyes, and glanced at Tsunade again. The moment his eyes fell on Tsunade's face, his cold eyes turned into a touch of tenderness. If you're willing to die, that's even better. Uchiha Madara twitched the corners of his mouth, revealing a weird smile. Do you think it's possible? Lu Han asked bluntly. He always thought that people who would be threatened with suicide are 24K pure idiots. Because that doesn't solve any problems, kills yourself, and doesn't save anyone. Do not expect mercy from the enemy. The rejection was so straightforward. Uchiha Madara narrowed his eyes. It will make people chill when you say that. Ha! Lu Lang laughed. Uchiha Madara. I advise you to let her go and give her back to me. This is the end of today's matter. If you dare to hurt her, I promise, you. Absolutely. With that child named Nagato, you will all die. Your Moon Eye plan will never succeed again. Uchiha Madara made a strange voice. He didn't expect that Lu Han even knew Nagato. Behind him, Tsunade, who was being held hostage by White Zetsu, showed a strange expression. That name. Uchiha Madara. Chapter 0836-Rampage Tsunade. Tsunade stared at the gray-haired back with wide eyes. Is he Uchiha Madara? To Tsunade, Uchiha Madara only exists in legends, because when she was born, many years had passed since the Battle of End Valley. Uchiha Madara died at the hands of Grandpa Senju. Is he still alive? Judging from his age, the white-haired ninja in front of him looked to be 90 years old, but it was exactly the age when Uchiha Madara was still alive. Han Guang, what happened today is that I misestimated your strength. I didn't expect you to hide so deeply. Sage mode, huh? Uchiha Madara stared at Lu Han. Go away. We will fight again in the future. As for you, wife, I will take her away. You can rest assured, I will not hurt her. Ha 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 ha. Are you afraid? Lu Han asked. You think I'm afraid of you? You are not afraid of me. I know you are not afraid of death. You are just afraid that after you die, the Moon Eye project will not be able to continue. Uchiha Madara. If you are a man, let her go. We will fight a fair fight, life and death resentment. Hangguang, you should know that the trick is useless to me. You're afraid of dying at my hands. You know you're not as good as me, right? I admit, you are indeed strong. Weak. Coward. People like you want to change the world. As I said, the trick is no use for me. In fact, Uchiha Madara's face was already very ugly. Lu Han provoked him again and again. He was not like Shisui, but he also knew that he was not Han Guang's opponent in Sage mode at all, and he would die. At this time, the surging natural energy on Lu Han's body quickly weakened, and the Yuhi-colored lines on his face quickly disappeared. He quit Sage mode. It was not that he took the initiative to withdraw, but that the time had come and the natural energy had been exhausted. Lu Han can also enter Sage mode again, but he needs to reabsorb natural energy. He doesn't know much about the master of Sage mode, so he can only do this. His talent is limited. If he is given another 10 or 8 years, his immortal state strength will probably approach the 90th level. However, there is no such thing. Are you coming to fight? After Lu Han's breath weakened, he still stared at Uchiha Madara, fighting intently. This time, Uchiha Madara hesitated. He really thought about this issue very seriously. This time he moved Tsunade out, but he still couldn't defeat Lu Han, who was in a turmoil. Han was forced to quit Sage mode, which made his mind come alive. No Sage mode. Kyubi, Nine Tails, is sealed and cannot be transformed into a beast. At this time, Han Guang has no peak combat power, not even the previous 30% combat power. Uchiha Madara is thinking, does he have a chance to kill Han Guang? After all, his state is not as good as before, and his physical energy consumption is too great. Behind Uchiha Madara, Tsunade's body was trembling, and his emotions were a little excited, and it was difficult to calm down. She has almost figured out what happened. Although she doesn't know the inside story, the situation on the surface is not complicated. From the moment he was arrested, this was a conspiracy against his husband Han Guang, but at this point, the husband who had the upper hand, has once again entered a life and death situation because of himself. Uchiha Madara was thinking, and his mind was on Lu Han. White Zetsu was very careful and stared at Lu Han. He was very afraid that Luhan would suddenly rush over and cut himself. Tsunade, who was being held hostage, slowly clenched his fists. In her body, the chakra that was continuously transformed suddenly accelerated, because the seal was placed on her body, so the fluctuation of chakra aura did not show up. Until the moment when she broke out. The meridians in the body burst inch by inch. A terrifying aura suddenly erupted from Tsunade's body, all the seals were violently broken, and the extreme strength of her physical skills exploded. She first raised her shoulders slightly, and the terrifying force hit White Zetsu, and White Zetsu suddenly flew out. Immediately afterwards, Tsunade raised his fist and slammed Uchiha Madara's back with a tragic momentum. Everything is complicated, but in fact Tsunade is abrupt, fast and outrageous. Uchiha Madara's attention was all on Luhan. He didn't even think that there would be a problem behind him, until the terrifying aura appeared. He subconsciously defended, but saw that a black light had already lit up on him. This technique. What is it? It doesn't matter anymore, because it was punched by Tsunade before it was formed. This blow hit the heart of Uchiha Madara. Uchiha Madara's clothes were all torn apart, and the back was torn with extremely ferocious wounds. The flesh burst, and the broken bones turned out, vaguely, and even the beating heart could be seen. Boom _ The old Uchiha Madara was hit hard by Tsunade, and was thrown away like a cannonball. Uchiha Madara was still flying upside down in the sky. He felt that his heart had been broken. With an incredible expression on his face, and endless panic, he never thought that he did not die in the hands of Senju Hashirama, nor was he born in this era. The king Hengwang defeated, but died at the hands of Senju Hashirama's granddaughter, Hengwang's wife, Tsunade. That woman. Uchiha Madara lost control of Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, and Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, who was standing in the basin, exploded with white smoke, and then disappeared, back to the place where the world of ninja was built. Somewhere in the underground cave, Uchiha Madara, who was flying upside down, also disappeared. He set up the forbidden technique on Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, which is a psychic secret technique. Once he is seriously injured and cannot control Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, it will disappear on its own, and at the same time, the psychic magic on Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, will directly absorb him. This is Uchiha Madara's life-saving means. No matter how much damage is received, just return to Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, where a super large number of Senju Hashirama's cells are grown. And that might save him. Luhan was stunned. Tsunade's way of breaking the game made him chill from the bottom of his heart. No one could have imagined that today's battle would end because of Tsunade. Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, disappeared. Uchiha Madara also disappeared. White Zetsu did, and know where did you get hit? After an instant, Luhan rushed in front of Tsunade like lightning. After Tsunade finished the attack, he seemed to have lost all his strength and fell from the side of the cliff like a kite with a broken string. Chapter 0837-Resurrection. The night is cold and silent, and the moonlight is dusty. Luhan hugged Tsunade and fell into the woods under the cliff. In his arms, there was already a warm corpse. Tsunade was dead. This is the price she paid for forcibly breaking Uchiha Madara's seal and almost killing Uchiha Madara directly. Too fast. Before she died, she didn't even have time to speak to Luhan. Luhan knelt in the forest, holding Tsunade horizontally, his body trembling uncontrollably. Tsunade's eyes had no time to close. There were tears in the corners of his eyes, and his absent-minded gaze stared at the sky. Luhan was trembling, the world was in him, his eyes turned gray and bright, only Tsunade in front of him, fresh Yuhi's blood, crystal tears, Madara's colorful and endlessly poignant beauty. Luhan suddenly felt the breath of life on Tsunade, but this breath does not belong to Tsunade. Very faint, but real. Luhan grinned sadly, blood and tears dripped from his eyes, and there was still a roar in his mind, and after a while, it seemed that his consciousness was about to be torn apart. Endless blankness and emptiness enveloped his soul, until he lifted with trembling hands, he pressed Tsunade's stomach. There is a little life bred there. Very fragile life. And because the mother just died and lost her mother's support, that little life is coming to an end. Lu Han could feel that he was connected to that little life by his bloodline. Lu Han's eyes brightened. He finally recovered from the dizziness and confusion. He remembered what he should do. His right eye, Lu Han's left eye, is eternal. Mangekyo is staring at Tsunade, and his pupil technique, time and space tide, is activated. Retreat. Lu Han doesn't know whether the tide of time and space can bring people back to life. Theoretically possible, but whether it can be done, Lu Han can't guarantee, but this does not prevent Lu Han from doing his best. After 10 seconds, Tsunade quickly returned to the state he had just died, which was very easy. Although Tsunade was a powerful energy body, he was much weaker than Lu Han. After that, Lu Han felt a sense of stagnation, which was difficult. With the resistance of the words, Lu Han couldn't match the loss of output chakra. He even took out the hand blocking his right eye, took out all the blue medicines from the space backpack, and quickly drank them one by one. His left eye was always on Tsunade. The fast-spinning eternal Mangekyo has turned into a dark Yuhi-colored Uzumaki. I don't know if it's a hallucination. Lu Han saw the god of death. It was a gigantic monster with a blue body, withered hair, and a fat white robe. He appeared beside Tsunade, lowered his head, and looked at Lu Han with icy eyes. Time flies. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Ding. Remind Subversive 3665 that your physical energy is less than 8%, and your mental energy is less than 10%. Entering a weak state. Ding. Remind Subversive 3665 that your physical energy is less than 5%, your mental energy is less than 7%, and you are in a state of severe weakness. Ding. Remind Subversive 3665 that your physical energy is less than 3%, your mental energy is less than 5%, and you are in an endangered state of weakness. Ding. Remind Subversive 3665, your physical energy is less than 1%, and your mental energy is less than 3%. Subversive 3665, please stop. Warning, warning. Subversive 3665 will die. Warning, please stop. Subversive 3665. Warning you again, please stop. Lu Han ignored the elf's prompt. He couldn't stop. Absolutely not. Because Tsunade's state is always stuck at the moment before death. If he stops, time will still pass. Tsunade's death time will continue to increase, and all previous efforts will be lost. Ding. Remind Subversive 3665 that your physical energy is 0, your mental energy is less than 1%, and you are entering the countdown to death. Death's eyes finally moved, and he finally glanced at Lu Han before disappearing. At this moment, Tsunade's body appeared with the breath of life. Lu Han's body was shaking violently. He felt that his subverter's body was collapsing. From the inside out, normal people would die directly if their physical energy returned to 0, but Lu Han, as a subverter, would not, because the subverter's body would not. It's very special. It takes a certain amount of time to collapse. In all, Lu Han only died a little later than normal people. Lu Han continued to transform chakra. Staring at Tsunade, the eternal Mangekyo was spinning wildly, and the tide of time and space did not stop. He doesn't know where these chakras come from. It may be that the subverter's body itself has some energy, but it is not included in the body's energy. Living. It can be said to be the life energy of the subverter's body. Chakra keeps turning into his left eye, urging pupil power. Because the time is not long enough, Lu Han's pupil strength will not be exhausted, but his chakra is not enough, his physical fitness is 0, and everything will end. After Tsunade has the breath of life, it means that she has been resurrected. But that's not enough. Bound to die, and he would not stop the tides of time and space before he died, because Tsunade's resurrection was one thing, and whether the injuries in her body would continue to worsen was another matter. Stop, that Tsunade will die in less than half a minute. So you have to keep going. The broken meridians in Tsunade's body quickly recovered, and the lost vitality returned to the state before her outbreak. The seal reappeared on her body, binding her hands, feet and body. Ding! Subversive 3665 is dead. Luhan finally stopped and lay on Tsunade, his vitality cut off. ... Ding! The effect of the intermediate resurrection scroll has been triggered, and Subverter 3665 has entered the countdown for resurrection. If it is overdue, Subverter 3665 will lose the chance to revive. Drops, exchange items, return to the original state. Subversive 3665 can choose the resurrection time and place. Quote. Luhan floated upward in the state of his soul body, he could see his body and Tsunade. Ding! It is detected that the total number of ingots obtained by the Subversive 3665 in history exceeds 10,000, and he holds a resurrection scroll. If the hidden conditions are met, the Subversive can choose to sleep, so as to retain all the current abilities and items. Chapter-821-840. Luhan flew farther and farther, and flew to a height of several thousand meters, overlooking the earth under the moonlit night, and everything below became tiny and blurred in his eyes. Sleep. What is that? Luhan asked in his heart. Sleep is an exclusive ability for subversives. A deep voice appeared in Luhan's ears, not an elf, but a messenger of subversion. He actually came out to explain. Among the exclusive abilities of subversives, deep sleep is one of the strongest abilities. First, to be called the end ability. To have this ability, the subversive must meet the following hidden conditions. First, to obtain more than 10,000 ingots within 10 years. Second, to have a resurrection scroll of any level. And third, the host strength must be reach or exceed tier 60. And fourth, the host is not killed. Subversive 3665, who has fulfilled the above four conditions, obtains the ability to sleep. This ability can only be activated when the subversive has died. This ability is a permanent ability, and the subversive can use it multiple times, but every time it is used, it will requires one resurrection scroll. After the subversive goes into a deep sleep, the sleeping time will be determined by the state of the subversive when he dies. If the subversive always has enough resurrection scrolls, then theoretically, the subversive will live forever, even if the subversive's natural lifespan runs out and naturally dies. Can also rely on the ability to sleep to restore life. Quote. Subversive 3665, you are the first subversive to obtain the ability to sleep. Previously, none of the 3664 subversives have obtained this ability, so I specially reward you with another unique ending ability for subversives, Resurrection. This ability allows subversives to revive other life forms. Each time a life form is resurrected, subversive's strength will be reduced by 10%. There are no other side effects and there is no limit to the number of times. The subversive messenger babbled a lot, and finally said, now, please subvert 3665 to make a choice, whether to use the intermediate resurrection scroll, lose everything and directly resurrect, or keep everything and go to sleep. How long? Luhan asked in his heart. How long will I sleep before I wake up? Or where is the place? In view of the fact that the subversive body of Subversive 3665 has collapsed, the subverter's HP value is reset to 0, the physical energy value is reset to 0, the mental value is reset to 0, and the death state is relatively serious. The result of the conversion is that Subverter 3665 will sleep for 10 years, and the sleeping place space for disruptors. Quote. This way, Luhan floated high in the sky, looking at the mountains and rivers below. He wanted to see Tsunade clearly, but it was too far away. He was already at an altitude of 10,000 meters, and he couldn't see clearly at all. Is it a direct resurrection? Still sleeping. If I revive directly, will I lose all my abilities, including the exclusive abilities of subversives? And those items, the Blade of Astonishment, and the Ring of 10,000 Techniques, will all disappear. Yes. So, is there still a first kill? Will the first kill be refreshed? No. I see. Lu Han's expression darkened. If he chooses to resurrect, he will really lose everything, and without the first kill, he will not be able to grow quickly at all, even if he already has the practice of Horaitian experience. His talent as a subversive, relying on his own practice, his growth will be slower. More importantly, Lu Han still has enemies. If Hanzo, Onoki, Kurigakure, Sunagakure, etc. know that he is still alive but has lost his strength, then he will never have peace, and what is even more terrifying is that there are also Uchiha Madara, White Zetsu, Black Zetsu. At that time, even Tsunade will protect him. It's useless, he has too many enemies. He has strength, the enemy is afraid of him and fears him. He has no strength, he will die. It will also embarrass the people around you. Go to sleep. Lu Han sighed. Perhaps, this was already an excellent result for him. He had originally planned to find a place where no one was there to revive, hide, and see no one. When his strength grew to a certain height, reappear. And now, he has the opportunity to keep all his abilities and items. He just needs to close his eyes and open them again, and he can come to the ninja world again. 10 years, to him who is sleeping, is just a flick of a finger. The soul-body Lu Han is dissipating, starting from the transparent feet. The person is at a height of 10,000 meters, and it turns into a little bit of starlight. I'll be back, Uchiha Madara, don't die. Give me a chance to kill you with my own hands. Lu Han murmured until he disappeared completely, and the night sky returned to calm. Historical records. On the night of February 15, Konoha 37, the strongest ninja during the Second Ninja World War, the king of an era, Hokage, the agent of Konoha village in the country of fire, Han Guang, who was only 19 years old, died in battle in the Kangsha Ridge, the country of Sichuan. A generation of killing gods fell. There have been many speculations and analyses of his death in later generations, and there are also rumors that Han Guang died at the hands of a mysterious powerhouse, and this mysterious powerhouse is Uchiha Madara, a peerless madman who traverses the ninja world from the end of Sengoku to the early days of the establishment of the 5 great ninja villages. But no one can prove that the person is Uchiha Madara, and even the cause of Han Guang's death is still a fog, and there is no conclusion. Konoha 37th year, February 16th, afternoon. On the southwestern border of the Fire Nation, the medical saint Tsunade held a corpse and appeared in the reconnaissance base established by Konoha on the southwestern border, and then a scout ninja rushed back to Konoha village to report. On February 19, Konoha Anbu Captain Hatake Tsukumo rushed to the border with more than 100 Anbu ninjas. He saw Tsunade with a seal on his body, his face pale and extremely weak, and his eyes were dazed like a dementia. He also saw that he had been placed in a coffin and his body had been cleaned up. However, the corpse of a man who was neat and clean but no longer had any breath of life. On February 21, under the leadership of Hatake Tsukumo, Konoha Anbu escorted Tsunade and the coffin back to Konoha village. Kaharu Udatane, Homura Mitokado, Hyuga Huyang and other Konoha leaders led all Konoha to kneel to greet them. It was night. There are hundreds of people wearing hemp, and thousands of people are in mourning. On February 25, the news of Han Guang's death in the battle spread all over the world, and the entire ninja world was in an uproar. In the 37th year of Konoha, on February 28, the great name of the country of fire came to Konoha with his family to hold a state funeral for Han Guang. Han Guang was buried in the Tomb of Heroes in the forest at the back mountain of Konoha village. This is the end of a generation of legends. Chapter 0839 The Difficulty of Konoha. Konoha 37 years, early March. The Land of Thunder, Kumogakure Village, Raikage Office. The tall figure pushed open the office door and strode to the desk. Looking at the middle-aged figure behind the desk reading the information, he hesitated. Lao Ai gave instructions on the intelligence scroll, put the scroll aside and looked up at his son. Xiao Ai was still wrapped in bandages, her face was pale, and her injuries were not completely healed. Is something wrong? Lao Ai asked seriously. I think. Xiao hesitated, plucked up his courage and said, I want to go to Konoha. You didn't let me go when the teacher was buried. I'll go to Matsuri to worship now. It should be fine. Go back and rest. Lao Ai sighed, not agreeing. Father. Xiao Ai was anxious and excited, why can't I go? You know, half a month ago. It was an accident, a conspiracy. I didn't die, didn't I? Although I killed some Konoha ninjas, you killed a few too, but I just went to Matsuri to pay my respects to the teacher, and I didn't even need to enter the Konoha village, why not? Half a month ago, Xiao Ai went mad in Konoha village, killing more than 10 ninjas in Konoha, and several of the young geniuses who were very important in Konoha were seriously injured by him. Lao Ai arrived in time, and took Xiao Ai to fight and retreat. Eventually escaped from Konoha and returned to Kumogakure. Xiao Ai was seriously injured and was in a coma for 10 days. And it was during these 10 days that Konoha village was retaliated by Lao Ai, and several reconnaissance bases established by Konoha in the northern part of the Land of Fire were all destroyed by Kumogakure Anbu. In order to avenge his son, Konoha has killed hundreds of people. It wasn't until a few days ago that Xiao Ai finally woke up out of danger, and when he woke up, the news of Han Guang's fall had spread throughout the ninja world. Originally, Kumogakure village was helpless to Xiao Ai's injury. Xiao Ai's injury by White Fang was secondary, mainly because his heart was stabbed a few times. There is no medical ninja as powerful as Tsunade, and anyone else has to die. Xiao Ai survived. It is incredible, Xiao Ai's body's self-healing ability and vitality are extremely powerful. Black Zetsu wants to kill Xiao Ai, he wants to do everything. As long as Xiao Ai dies, then Kumogakure village will definitely turn against Konoha village. It is an accident that Xiao Ai survives. After Xiao Ai woke up, Lao Ai asked him what happened. Xiao Ai didn't remember his madness in Konoha at all, but he remembered the white figure. With Lao Ai's wisdom, he could naturally figure out that he and his Konoha got it all. However, it is irreversible. Because Xiao Ai got Konoha's life on his hands, and Lao Ai's revenge also caused Konoha to kill more people. Of course, there were also Kumogakure village ninjas who were performing revenge tasks and were killed by Konoha. The two sides have completely broken up. If Hangguang is still alive, then maybe we can talk about it again. Lao Ai is willing to talk with Hangguang. He also believes that with Hangguang's wisdom and vision, Konoha and Kumogakure can put their quarrels away. However, Hangguang is dead, and he is currently in charge of Konoha. It's Kaharu Udatane. For Kaharu Udatane, Lao Ai felt that there was nothing more to say. Wait a little longer. Lao Ai looked at his son. After half a year, or a year, when the limelight is over, you can go to Matsuri to worship the cold light. Father, what are you worried about? Xiao Ai slapped Lao Ai on the table and glared at Yuhi. You should know that if the teacher hadn't trained me, that kind of injury. I'm already dead. Why don't you let me go to Matsuri to worship teacher? Why? Quote. Xiao Ai also asked about his own situation after waking up. The Kumogakure medical ninja was amazed at his self-healing ability and vitality, but Xiao Ai suddenly realized that this internal change in his body was entirely due to the teacher's training on him. Being injured time and time again, being healed time and time again, suffering that kind of pain time and time again. Lao Ai looked up at his son's eyes. It was the first time his son had offended him like this, but he didn't know how to scold him. There are some things he can't tell Xiao Ai. Example, he already knew that Konoha was in crisis, and Konoha's geographical location would make it vulnerable to many enemies, and it was really dangerous without the strongest guards. Or, Hanzo has come to Lao Ai a few days ago, and Lao Ai refused Hanzo's invitation and didn't say anything about it. Lao Ai knows that his son Xiao Ai loves Konoha because of Han Guang, so he can't say it. Lao Ai won't get down on Konoha, but Han Guang is dead, and Lao Ai's friendship with Konoha is also broken. Go back and rest. After all, Lao Ai didn't get angry with his son, but comforted her in a calm tone. I know what you're thinking, but your injury isn't healed yet, wait for you to heal. Let's talk about it. 37 Years of Konoha, March 3. Kurigakure sent 5,000 troops to invade the country of Vortex and approach the northern border of the country of Fire. Build a new ninja village. On March 5, the Sunagakure village of the Land of Winds, with 6,000 troops, crossed the Land of Rain and entered the northwest area of the Land of Fire, then headed south, intending to invade the western part of the Land of Fire. On March 9, 6,000 troops from Iwagakure village in the Land of the Earth crossed the Land of Rain, entered the northwest area of the Land of Fire, and then moved eastward, intending to invade the northern part of the Land of Fire. The four major forces have a total of 20,000 troops, intending to divide up the country of Fire. The 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th Main Battle Corps of the Fire Nation, with a total of 9,000 troops, sent troops one after another. The Ninja World War, which had just been calmed down, once again caused huge waves. 37 Years of Konoha, on March 15, a month after Han Guang died in battle. That night, Tsuchikajinoki, the third generation of Iwagakure village, Hanzo, the leader of Omegakure village in the Land of Rain, and Chiyo, the frontline commander of Sunagakure village, together with the four major forces of Sand, Rain, Rock, and Fog, a total of more than 100 strong and masters attacked Konoha village at night. The 4,000 ninjas left behind in Konoha fought back. Two sides fought until dawn, and Onoki, Hanzo and others were left to retreat. Konoha suffered heavy casualties. Hyuga Haeyoung, the head of the Hyuga clan, and Inazuka, the commander of the Konoha garrison, all died in battle. The end of Konoha seems to have come. March 16, somewhere in the ninja world, in an underground cave. Uchiha Madara, who had been in a coma for a month with serious injuries, woke up in the dark. Chapter 0840-Return. The huge underground cave, Gedo Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, is like an eternal sculpture, shadows swaying under the reflection of trembling firelight. Under the stone wall far away from the fire, White Zetsu and Black Zetsu sat opposite each other, with a square table between them with a chessboard on it. This game of chess has been played by the two for 5 days. Regarding the investigation and surveillance of the ninja world, there is White Zetsu's clone to do it. White Zetsu's main body, in the case of nothing important, doesn't need to do anything in person. Both are waiting. Wait for that person to wake up. How long? In the distance, in the direction of the shadow of Gedo Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, a hoarse voice asked. Black Zetsu and White Zetsu raised their heads at the same time, got up and walked in that direction at the same time. The two of them merged halfway, and they became absolute. Uchiha Madara walked out of the darkness with a sickle as a crutch, her pale and bloodless face full of weakness. It's been a month, and now it's March 16th. Ju said. Well, Uchiha Madara responded with a nasal voice. The corners of his mouth twitched slightly, and his eyes were cold. That woman. Tsunade, is she dead? It was so unforgettable that Uchiha Madara did not expect that he would be nearly killed by Tsunade, and he also knew that even if Tsunade forcibly broke the seal and inflicted heavy damage on him, he was afraid he would be finished. She's not dead, Ju said, his face slightly strange. Oh, Uchiha Madara frowned. Not dead. Han Guang saved her. It is speculated that Han Guang saved her. Why speculation? Speculation. Because Han Guang died. I can't find out what happened that night. Uchiha Madara turned around suddenly, staring at Ju, staring at him. Han Guang is dead. Without Madara saying anything, Ju said again. Are you absolutely sure? Are you sure this isn't Han Guang's plan? Madara asked, with a hint of nervousness in her tone. Totally sure, Ju said with great certainty. I have gone to see his body, and it is absolutely true that he is dead. And the state of death is very strange. Judging from the symptoms, he should have launched some kind of death before he died. Forbidden technique. Quote. Uchiha Madara maintained a surprised look, then turned back slowly, the corners of her mouth trembling, as if she was muttering something, but she didn't make a sound. Ha, cold light, ha, ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. Uchiha Madara raised her head and laughed, looking like she was about to burst into tears. Cove Light is too bizarre. The outside world does not know the situation of the Kangsha Ridge battlefield that day. Even if there are many guesses, they will definitely not be able to guess the real cause of Han Guang's death, and Uchiha Madara, he can imagine that through Han Guang, he used the forbidden technique before his death, and Tsunade is not dead. 2 guesses. Han Guang, it was really possible that he died in order to save Tsunade's life. Uchiha Madara, this method of death can only be said to be an unfortunate luck. Completely by mistake. Who would have thought? Han Guang has such deep affection for Tsunade. Uchiha Madara was almost neurotic. He walked to the square table in front of the stone wall with a mad laugh. Looking at the endgame of the chessboard above, he sat down with his knees crossed and motioned to sit opposite him, and then he completely calmed down. Tell me about the situation outside, and some recent events. Madara said, picking up Hitze at the same time, pinching it with her fingers, but did not drop it immediately. Since Han Guang died, Hanzo Ju began to talk about some important recent events. Although it has only been a month, many major events that have caused a stir in the ninja world have really happened. Uchiha Madara was in a good mood because the serious troubles of his confidants had been eliminated. At this moment, listening to him, his face became gloomy again. The ninja world is out of control. Uchiha Madara knew that when Hangguang died, the ninja world might fight again, but even without Hangguang, Konoha was still very strong and would not be defeated because of this, but I didn't expect Konoha would really lose. The problem was with Hanzo. More than a month ago, Black Zetsu came forward to hire Hanzo and Onoki to attack Tsunade. After the success, Hanzo and Onoki dispersed, and it was at that time that Hanzo and Onoki secretly reached an agreement to attack Konoha, because Hanzo had already made a deal. It is speculated that the black market may be using Tsunade to contain Luhan. The result was even more extreme. Han Guang died directly. After that, Hanzo contacted Chio from Sunagakure village, I from Kumogakure village, and the current principal of Kurigakure. He single-handedly made a plan to attack Konoha and carve up the territory of the Land of Fire. He wanted the 5 forces to send troops to the Land of Fire at the same time. Destroy Konoha. Lao Ai refused Hanzo's invitation, but did not inform Konoha. After all, Kumogakure and Konoha had completely broken up. Lao Ai, looking at the face of the late Han Guang, did not fall for Konoha. The end, a situation in which the 4 forces attacked Konoha was formed. At present, the Sand, Rain, Rock, and Fog Corps have all occupied part of the Land of Fire, and just last night, Konoha village was raided, causing heavy casualties. These include Hyuga Heian and Inazuka Tears. Konoha is in danger. In the battle last night, Tsunade never showed up. Without Tsunade's cooperation, Jiraiya and Orochimaru were both seriously injured. If Hatake Tsukumo hadn't rescued them in time, they would have died. It is said that the reason why Tsunade didn't participate in the battle was because since Han Guang's death, she has suffered from hyperphobia, afraid of seeing blood. Black Zetsu finally said, his face became more and more strange. I didn't expect that Han Guang's death would lead to such an extreme situation. He offended him before his death. There are too many people, and the killing is too ruthless. Uchiha Madara's face was ugly. Konoha had been destroyed, and the country of fire would be divided up, which he didn't want to see. What he has always done is to balance the parties, and it is okay to fight, but whoever destroys who, the country of rain does not matter. The 5 major countries must maintain their existence, so that conflicts of interest will always exist, and the country of fire is located in the center of the ninja world, has the most extensive forests and the most abundant resources. Once it is divided up by various countries, all parties will have enough to eat, no shortage of money, no shortage of food, and sufficient benefits. Harmony and beauty will be tolerated in the future. World War. Stop them. Uchiha Madara said sternly, can't let them ruin Konoha. On March 20th, Konoha 37, the 3rd generation Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, who had been missing for nearly 2 years, returned to Konoha.